And a very, very warm welcome to you from Donington Park, the site of our first race of the season in 2025 and the location of the Donington Decider. It all ends here for 2025 and the British GT. It's been all about the weather this weekend, with qualifying disrupted by Storm Amy, and the remnants of the storm are still here. It is very, very windy. It is cloudy with pockets of sunshine and an air temperature of 18 degrees. Track temperature 14 degrees, getting warmer as we go throughout the course of this one. GT3 and GT4 are up for grabs. 8 rounds have happened so far this season. 426 laps completed over the course of the season. 1,324 miles of competitive racing have brought us to this stage. It's been dynamic, it's been lively, and it is the Donington Decider.
The British GT Championship began at Donington back in April, where the 2-hour race turned out to be a battle between the 2Cs Motorsport Mercedes AMGs and Barwell Motorsports Lamborghini, and a safety car was called after Giacomo Petrobelli tagged one of the Mahiki Racing Lotuses. After the safety car, the Nick Jones Sven Muller Porsche was in big strife, as Charles Dawson and Kean Jewiss fended off and charging Sandy Mitchell and Alex Martin to take the win. In GT4, it was honours for Mark Warren and Jack Brown as their McLaren triumphed over the BMW of Ravi Ramyi and Charlie Robertson. The Silverstone 500 came next, a 3-hour race and strategy to be played with. Morgan Tilbrook's McLaren led away and tried to hang on to the early advantage, with one of the best GT3 entries of the season chasing after him. Poor El Mahiki was in the wars again, having shown good speed early on. A 3-wheeled Lotus was going nowhere. It was returning 2023 champions Darren Lung and Dan Harper who came, saw and conquered, with Charles Dawson and Kean Jewiss second, but the best of the registered point scorers. Ravi Ramyi and Charlie Robertson were victorious in GT4. The first doubleheader of the season was at Alton Park at the end of May. Rob Collard and Giacomo Petrobelli battled to the first corner in race 1, others ploughing off wide, while Ravi Ramyi had this big accident at Arden Bend, which put his BMW out for the day. After the pit stops, Hugo Cook hung on to take a maiden British GT win in the Barwell Lamborghini shared with Rob Collard, Kevin Say and Maxi Goetz taking second, while Jack Brown and Mark Warren were victorious yet again in GT4. Race 2 was held on a wet road and a tyre gamble was key. Some went for slicks as the track dried, but more rain fell and Kean Jewiss was one of many off the road. As the track surface changed, being on the right tyres at the right time was crucial. Nick Jones was another driver in the wars, running wide at Arden Bend and just about getting away with it. The Mercedes AMG of Kevin Say and Maxi Goetz, though, hung on to take a dominant win, Kevin Say's second victory at Alton Park. While in GT4, it was Mark Warren and Jack Brown victorious again, rounding out a great day. The overseas round at Spa-Francorchamps was eagerly anticipated as ever, and it was Giacomo Petrobelli who grabbed the lead at Azores on the opening lap. He and Johnny Adam hung on to take victory. For Johnny, a record-breaking 20th British GT win. In GT4, Ravi Ramyi and Charlie Robertson bounced back from their Alton Park disappointment to take the win. Snetterton was the final doubleheader, 2 races and 2 point-scoring opportunities. It went awry for Andrew Howard early on, who was off the road in race 1, and then the Hugo Cook Rob Collard Lamborghini went agricultural as well. It was a second on-the-road win for Charles Dawson and Kean Jewiss. Great news for the championship, while another dominant display gave Jack Brown and Mark Warren the GT4 win. Race 2 was headed away by the Maxi Goetz Kevin Say Mercedes, while there was a battle further back, Marcus Klassen getting involved with Sandy Mitchell. But Kevin Say brought the Mercedes AMG home victorious, a second win of the season, while Ravi Ramyi and Charlie Robertson bounced back in the GT4 championship battle with another win. And so to Brands Hatch last time out, a 2-hour race on the full Grand Prix circuit, and it was Giacomo Petrobelli who grabbed the advantage going into paddock, but he was already under investigation, a mechanic having illegally used a blower on the front of the car on the grid. Drama for Mark Warren. He got involved with Ravi Ramyi coming out of Druids on the opening lap, and the McLaren was speared into the barrier. There was a lot of damage and a safety car was called. On the restart, there was a lively McLaren battle. Simon Orange running wide and allowing John Carney to come through as they battled their way onto the Grand Prix loop. Another car on a big charge was the Aston Martin of Petrobelli and Adam. That delayed after a pit lane penalty from the drama on the grid, and it was gradually picking its way up the order in a race full of what-ifs. But for Charles Dawson and Jewiss, it was another victory to make that championship even more attainable this weekend at Donington Park. In GT4, a maiden win for Luca Hopkinson and Harry George after a tough season that finally bore fruit.
"182 days after it all began, British GT is back at Donington, where one of these GT3 contenders, as well as 3 more GT4 crews, will be crowned champions on Sunday. 2Cs Charles Dawson and Jewiss have been GT3's standout duo. Their 28.5-point lead is the biggest ever advantage at our finale, and 15.5 more than GT3's record number that Darren Leung and Dan Harper overturned 2 years ago in arguably Donington's best ever decider. These two therefore look nailed on for the title. 7th place would be enough regardless of results elsewhere, but they do have the maximum 20 seconds of compensation time to contend with during the pit stop. And that's why the likes of Blackthorn, Optimum and 2C's other crew haven't given up hope just yet. True, all 3 must win to have any chance, but anything can happen at the finale, where championship leads have been overturned 3 times since 2019, and drama is never far away. Just ask Johnny Adam, who won 3 of his 4 British GT titles from 2nd place heading into the showdown. The Scot and Giacomo Petrobelli lie joint 2nd in the standings, but crucially race without any extra pit stop time. Morgan Tilbrook and Marvin Kirchhoffer, on the other hand, have 15 more seconds to serve. They're also yet to win this year, but have scored points in all 8 races so far. GT3's 4th and final contenders are Kevin Zay and Maximilian Goertz. But their 36.5-point deficit is just 1 fewer than the maximum available for victory. They therefore only become a factor if their teammates non-score. The maths says that 3 crews are still in contention, but it's realistically between these 2, Ravi Ramid and Charlie Robertson, and Mark Warren and Jack Brown, who are separated by just 3.5 points. Century's BMW trailed Optimum's McLaren all year until Brands Hatch, where Warren and Brown's first DNF of the season helped their rivals establish a slender advantage. But here's the caveat. 2nd place at Brands means 15 seconds of compensation time on Sunday, whereas the Artura competes penalty-free at a track where it won back in April. Any podium result would be enough for Warren and Brown to overturn their deficit, regardless of where the BMW finishes behind. There are plenty of ways for either of the top 2 to take the title, but only one for GT4's 3rd contenders. Luca Hopkinson and Harry George must win and hope their rivals non-score to have any chance, and that's while serving maximum compensation time and the extra silver class handicap. In short, the odds are extremely long.
Are you ready for the test? That is how it is going to work in GT3 and GT4. A lot is up for grabs. Looking over my shoulder, you can see the cars now have arrived pretty much onto the grid with Rob Collard just standing there. He'll be relinquishing the crown for the British GT3 champion anyway. And Ricky Collard, his son, is also standing next to him now. So a big moment for the family as Rob takes that car with Hugo Cook. A lot of fans over my shoulder, as you can see. It's very, very busy, very good atmosphere. It's a tense atmosphere as well, I have to say, with so much on the line for GT3 and GT4. And as always with this sort of event now, we come to the national anthem. So many people gathering around, all the drivers are ready, all the cars are ready, and we are graced by the presence of a fantastic band performing the national anthem and other bits of music along the way. It is the Army Engagement Ensemble here with the national anthem. They've been phenomenally entertaining, not just performing the national anthem now, but they've been performing lots and lots of rock tracks around the way as well. I'm sure you've heard it, Joe. Joe Osborne alongside me here, commentator for British GT. It is down to the decider. You've been here at the decider. What is it like for these drivers? What's it like for Rob over his shoulder now, who knows that he's not going to be champion at the end of this season? How do they approach it?
There's so many dynamics at play for drivers like Rob, who could have won the championship had luck gone their way. They've just got a hall pass. They can just send it, and the other drivers in the championship know that. And now suddenly we're getting close to the crescendo. As a driver, you've been waiting since Brands Hatch, this Donington decider. It's all you've been thinking about for 24 hours a day, and finally it's time to show, can you do it?
And wind has played a huge part in the grid. We've got some cars on the grid, they're very much out of position. The Optimum, for example, the car driven by Kirchhoffer, that car is out of position on the grid. They had a bit of a problem with the car, but they've managed to get that resolved.
Yeah, the wind's huge. This is the blusteriest conditions I've ever seen at a racetrack, and it's an unknown as a driver. You've got to attack every corner, but this huge external factor of the wind is different every lap, every corner.
Well, I'm going to attack some drivers, you're going to attack GT4. Let's get off this way. Thanks very much, Joe. We'll hear from him a little bit later on in commentary. There we go, as they fire up a bit more music for you. I told you they've been very entertaining. Rob Collard just there getting strapped in and ready to go. It's a Lambo lockout here. They're looking very, very strong. And if the race were to finish that way, that would give the title, irrespective of the result elsewhere, to Dawson and Jewiss. And Cian is here. Let's grab a quick word with Cian Jewiss, who's starting outside of the car with Charles Dawson in. Just setting you guys up really for the championship. You've got a huge advantage, the biggest advantage you've ever had going into the Donington decider or any decider.
Yeah, look, it's not any different to any other race for us. We're here to go fighting. We have got our 20-second penalty, so it is going to be tough. We're going to worry about what we can control and see where we are at 3:15.
That's all you can do, though, isn't it, really? But it's a very good start position.
Yeah, look, it's the first time we're ever going to want the Lambos to go out and win, so we're Barwell's #1 supporter today. So, yeah, look, let's get a clean start and see where we end up.
Very best of luck to you there, Cian Jewiss. And Charles Dawson, by the way, every time I popped in to see Charles this weekend, he seems to be having a massage all the time. If we just pan round for a second, Brownie, for us, just have a look there at the 67. You can see through. That's Matt Topham sitting in the car. Now, he is stepping in for Simon Orange this weekend, so that is a non-point scoring car, but of course it's a very big car on track, so although it's not going to interfere when it comes to the points, it could get involved on track. And Darren Lung is starting a bit further back there. He's made a return, and when I said to Darren, how do you go into this race? Are you going to take it easy? You're going to get out of the way? You went, well, look, I'm not going to do anything stupid, but I'm here to win, and that's the important thing. These drivers very, very much do want to win. Let's see if I can find Johnny Adam. He's here. Sorry, Johnny. You disappeared into the blackness there with your jacket. You've been in this situation, decider, a great many times. You've been successful 3 times by overhauling the points. How do you approach this? You seem pretty calm. You always seem pretty calm.
Yeah, you have to have a calmness around you for the team and for your co-driver as well. But you know, we've got a lot to play for today. Obviously, there's still a championship on the line, but we have to try and win this race to make anything count. So we've struggled a little bit in qualifying, if I'm honest. We never really got the car hooked in. The Lamborghinis look really fast this weekend. But yeah, we've changed a few things on the car. I think they'll hopefully improve the pace, but we need to get to the front really. And Giacomo seems fired up, so let's see.
He certainly does, but pit stop compensation is going to be a big thing. You guys have none, whereas those two are involved in the championship ahead and behind, they do.
Yeah, and it, as we saw at Brands Hatch, when there's an untimed safety car at the end of that first stint, 20 seconds is a big loss. You know, you can actually go from being top 2 or 3 to being nearly at the back of the pack. You know, so anything can happen. The weather looks like it could be mixed. There could be a bit of a rain shower here or there, but we're up for it. We'll do what we can. We've had a good year. We're a bit unlucky with what happened at Brands Hatch. We felt we could have won that race and been in more of a contention. But that aside, it's been a good fun year with Blackthorn and Giacomo, and we've got one eye, and that is to go forward today and hopefully get a trophy at the end of it as well.
I know you came into the season hoping to win. You've come very close, and it's not over yet. Very best of luck to you, Johnny. Let's continue going. Johnny just saying about 20 seconds, by the way. Ahead, they have, that's Cian Jewiss and Charles Dawson, they have a 20-second pit stop compensation time. It means during their pit stop, they have to wait an extra 20 seconds in the car. Giacomo and Johnny don't have to do that, but these guys, Tilbrook and Kirchhoffer, they also have a pit stop compensation time. 15 seconds they have to sit in the car. It's going to feel like an age when all you really want to do is head off down the track. Marvin, you had a few problems with the car, you were saying, during qualifying, but those problems have been ironed out.
Yeah, definitely. I'm quite glad the team has done an amazing job to get rid of those gremlins we've been fighting the last couple of days, but we finally found them, so hopefully we can have a good race. Morgan has been on pace all weekend, so yeah, he's very fired up, so I hope we can have a good race and just some fun out there.
He seems a different Morgan at the moment. He seems much more confident than he's been in the last few races. I know he's struggled to enjoy the season because he's in championship contention.
Oh, no, I mean, definitely we had a few tough races this year, but it's, you know, about learning and improving, and we kind of just hit the reset button at some point, and it clearly helped him. And I'm very, very happy that he's enjoying this, because we're here to have fun and enjoy it, and ultimately it reflects on his pace. All weekend he's been one of the fastest guys out there. And as I said yesterday, we were a bit unlucky. It didn't really come our way in quali, but we try and make it a better one today.
Forward focus the whole way. Thanks very much, Marvin. There you go. That's GT3. Joe has popped his way down to GT4 to hear those drivers' thoughts. So over to Joe.
Thank you, Bryn. So GT4, I think, is even spicier than the GT3 Championship. Few factors at play. The points gap, very, very slight. One of the drivers, Charlie Robertson, is going to take over this car, of course. Charlie, you've won championships in the past. Jeanette Juniors, Super Cup, LMP3. You know how to do a championship. How do you see today going for you in the BMW?
Well, we're starting in the right place, so it's very much about keeping Ravi in the right frame of mind, keeping him cool. He's got to hand the car to me at half-time, and hopefully we can, I'd expect to come out behind Jack at the minute, and then maybe try and close him down and see if we can get past. But it's going to be close. The pace of both cars have been super tight all week. So yeah, it's amazing that we've gone from Alton to now thinking it was over to now being in the lead. So anything can happen, Joe.
Okay, good luck on your side. Have a quick chat with Rami, already in the car, Ravi. Obviously, how's it been going this season? You had an interesting clash with Mark Warren at Brands Hatch. What was your take on that one?
I think lightning struck, to be fair, Joe. You know what I mean? I think what are the odds on that happening, but it did, unfortunately.
And how's your relationship between you and Mark on and off track?
I think, to be fair, you know, I think before Brands we were mutually exclusive. Now we're seeing other people.
Interesting, well phrased there from Ravi Ramid. Let's go and speak to Mark Warren. We're getting kicked off the grid, but we'll keep going. Another dynamic to keep at play is going to be the sister Optimum car, going for their own championship in the silver one, but sister car to the main championship rival back here on the row 2 behind car 90. Let's get a quick word with Mark Warren, the driver in there. Jack, I'll come to you in a second. Mark, we've just spoken to Ravi Ramid, asked how's your relationship on track. So same question to you, how do you get on with Ravi on and off the circuit?
We've never been closer, Joe. Thank you so much for asking.
Perfect. And then what was your take on the incident at Brands Hatch between the two of you?
Well, it came out as a racing incident.
Awesome. We've got the visor down there, so that's all we need to know. And then, Jack, quick word, how are you feeling championship-wise? Is it going to happen, yes or no?
Well, I've got to say yes. That's how I'm feeling. But yeah, it's got to wait and see, really. So.
Perfect. All right, that's the 2 GT4 championship contenders. I'll take it back to you, Andy, in the booth.
Actually, Joe, I shall pick this one up for you because I am back down here at GT3. Quickly looking over my shoulder, I can see Kevin Say talking to Maxi Gertz. They are also in the hunt for the championship, or they are so far out of the picture almost. It would be a monumental change in the wind here for that to really take effect. Talking about the wind here, you have mentioned, we have heard a bit about the weather. We are expecting some pockets of rain, some showers happening, and that may have a huge impact on the race, particularly when you think as well about when the pit stops will happen at around that 1 hour mark. Just passing us, by the way, Brownie, I'm not sure if you can spin round. A great atmosphere on the grid. There's Jules, there's our pit manager. It's great to see Jules back here. He was undergoing brain surgery to remove a tumour on his brain. We heard that he couldn't be here at Brands. He's here at the moment. We are so delighted he's back out on the grid. It's such a nice thing to see him. He's had so much support from all the other drivers and the teams as well for the Donington Decider, and it's great that he is here for the end of the season. So it is blustery, it is threatening to rain. I can see some very dark showers over there. I didn't bring the brolly. Andy in the booth, well, it's nice and dry where you are, irrespective. But this one, you get a sense from the fans around here, from the atmosphere, that everyone is very, very tense.
Yes, that tension, I think, is very evident, isn't it, Bryn? And it's what we expect from a Donington Decider. We've seen it year after year after year. And yeah, the 2025 finale is going to be absolutely no different. Tell you what, the one thing I'm really enjoying about today is it's the one time I can say my hair looks better than Bryn Lucas's. He is in for a rough ride, I think, down in the pit lane today. He'll be keeping us on top of all of the developing stories. Pit stops will be crucial. We heard both Bryn and Joe there talking about this compensation time that has to be served by championship contenders across both classes, and that could be in the end, the deciding factor. Or it could be the weather, or it could be a safety car, or it could all boil down to a sprint to the finish. We've seen all of these things happen over the years here at Donington Park, and myself and Joe Osborne were discussing yesterday, there's just something in the air. It doesn't feel like it's going to be a straightforward race, even for 2Cs Motorsport, who have got this very healthy 28.5-point championship lead in GT3. That does not mean they're unbeatable, and if ever there was a day where something strange could happen, you just kind of get the feeling it could be today. Whatever happens, it will happen in front of a very, very large crowd. People were pouring into the Donington Park circuit a good hour or so before any cars hit the track this morning, and they've continued to arrive. There are some areas where you can find yourself a bit more space and a great panoramic view of the circuit, but the grandstands are busy, the spectator bankings are busy. There's a great atmosphere. This final round of the championship really has become an event not to be missed if you're a British motor racing fan, and even on a weekend where there's lots going on up and down the country, this is where it's at. The British GT Championship continuing to draw focus. Well, it all goes quiet. The grid clears of people. The only ones left there are the starting drivers for the race, and the green flag laps, plural, getting underway now. We are having 2 green flag laps, partly because of a change of conditions. We had a tiny bit of drizzle over the lunch break, but also the very low temperatures. We need to give the teams plenty of time to get heat into the tyres. Class pole sitters then, Team Parker Racing in the GT4 Endurance Cup. They were crowned champions, actually, earlier this weekend. Century Motorsports BMW is the Pro-Am GT4 pole sitter, but Mahiki Racing's Ginetta number 69 was fastest of all other GT4 cars in qualifying. Beach Dean's Aston Martin has the Silver Am GT3 pole, and outgoing champion Rob Collard will, fittingly I think, start from pole position in his number 1 Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini. He will have his Barwell teammate Alex Martin for company on that front row of the grid, and then Matt Topham in the first of the cars which are invisible as far as points are concerned. 67, one of 4 which won't score points today. Charles Dawson, championship leader, starts 4th, ahead of Andrew Howard. The Beach Dean Aston Martin was quick in qualifying and should be a factor this afternoon. Then comes the first of the title contenders other than 2Cs. Giacomo Petrobelli's Aston Martin starts 6th, ahead of Kevin Say's 2Cs Mercedes in 7th, and Morgan Tilbrook, looking to improve after a disappointing qualifying effort, will start from 8th. Then another non-point scoring but still potentially front-running car is Darren Leung's Blackthorn Aston Martin. He's got Mark Smith's Paddock McLaren for company on row 5. Row 6, Mike Price and Nick Jones, who had a spin but was fastest in morning warm-up earlier on today. Then Chun Chong Yip and Duncan Cameron Honda ahead of Ferrari on the penultimate row of the GT3 grid. Richard Neary didn't set a lap time in qualifying yesterday, so the team Abbott Mercedes is at the back of the GT3 grid. Then in GT4, Luke Garlick in the number 69 Ginetta, comfortably fastest in qualifying. Then comes the points leader, Ravi Ramyeed, starting on the front row. He will have 2 cars between himself and Mark Warren, his title rival with whom he clashed at Brands Hatch last time. Those 2 cars will be the newly crowned champions in the Endurance Cup, Ed McDermott's Team Parker Racing Mercedes and Harry George's Optimum McLaren. Then comes Mark Warren in the championship contending Optimum McLaren ahead of Chris Solkel. Michael Lawrence and Rupert Williams are next, with James Townsend at the back of the grid. So, all of the talking almost about to be done. It's now time for the on-track action to take centre stage, and after this second green flag lap has been completed, the race will properly get underway. The time has actually started 2 laps already, so the time starts ticking down at the end of that first lap. But the race has started, but we're not yet under race conditions. We'll have the 2x2 rolling start at the end of this one. And as Joe Osborne joins me in the commentary box then ahead of the 2 hours of racing, the stage is set. We've got the perfect venue for a decider. It's going to be tense this next 2 hours, isn't it?
It really is, and the Donington circuit, one of the best, if not the best in the country, in my opinion. A majority of drivers, just over 4 kilometres, 2.5 miles, 12 corners, and the overtaking spots are everywhere. And some of them are lunges, turn 1, 4, 7, even into 8 at Coppice can be a lunge, but then some proper good overtaking opportunities, 11 is the hot spot, but 12 at Goddard's the final corner too. So it's going to be hard to see where the action's going to come from, because I think it's going to be thick and fast.
Across both classes, we're going to need 6 pairs of eyes, I think, to try and keep on top of all of the action, but looking forward to what is going to be a fascinating 2 hours of racing. This is the onboard camera with Mark Warren, and he'll be hoping to at least survive the opening lap this time. He's got a teammate directly ahead of him, and Joe, you touched upon this on the grid. How much of a factor do you think those sister Optimum and Century cars will play in GT4?
Very big, huge. I feel the Optimum pairing are stronger between the two cars. They're willing to help each other more than the Century. That's my gut feeling, just looking at the body language between the 4 sets of drivers on each of those. But yeah, it's going to be huge. And I think this could be a huge stint from down under Nick Yellerly. Weren't happy with the car yesterday, much happier this morning. This could be a car going forwards.
And the McLaren directly ahead of Morgan Tilbrook likewise seems confident that they found some speed overnight. And they, remember, are title contenders. This is the championship leading car, though, started by Charles Dawson. A top 7 finish today will leave them champions, but that could become an awful lot easier said than done on what I think could be a turbulent and unpredictable 2 hours of racing. The final round of the 2025 British GT Championship is upon us. They run 2 by 2 through the final corner. Rob Collard and Alex Martin on the front row of the grid, and Rob Collard's teammate Hugo Cook could still finish second in the championship if that number 1 car has a really good afternoon. Place your bets, everybody. This is going to be a thriller. The lights go out, away we go. We are racing now at Donington Park, and Rob Collard gets the jump on his Barwell Motorsport teammate. He's got the inside line into Redgate Corner, although Alex Martin coming back at him on the outside. I think Collard should prevail. They're still side by side, but yes, car number 1 exits ahead, wide further back for Morgan Tilbrook. Around has gone Mike Price in his McLaren, and that was Charles Dawson very aggressively sweeping round the outside. He's into third already. The Mercedes, Joe, on its toes.
Yeah, it really was. I just wondered if Collard went and then stopped for the line. Looked like he went very early out the final corner, and definitely I would say Mike Price got helped around some of the GT3 cars tripping over each other at the back. GT4 has been a pretty good start. Mark Warren has lost a place there. That's the only major change at the front of GT4, and Petrobelli looks like he's on the move as well in the 7 Aston Martin.
Yeah, Matt Topham's struggling, isn't he? Been overtaken by Dawson, by Andrew Howard and by Giacomo Petrobelli. Now Darren Leung closes in the 2nd Blackthorn Aston Martin. Again, it doesn't score points, but it is out there on track and potentially could start getting in between the title contenders. He's actually defending, though, as they arrive at the chicane, and it's Morgan Tilbrook round the outside of Kevin Say. That was a bold move, but Joe, it was a good one.
That was amazing. There was so much confidence placed in Kevin Say. Kevin Say, a lovely driver on and off the track, and luckily for Morgan Tilbrook, he backed out of there. I think Tilbrook could have spun himself around there, but he asked the question of the 18 Mercedes, and Kevin Say backed out of it.
And that was close. Chun Chong Yip up the inside of Richard Neary. I think a bit of paint traded between Honda and Mercedes, and they're still doing battle. Look as they arrive at the final corner. Nick Jones is in behind them. There was a battle in GT4 I spotted in the background. That was Harry George having a go at Ravi Ramyeed. Does the BMW appear still in second? It does. So no change in the order, and Ramyeed so far so good, holding on to second in class.
That's a great opening lap from Ravi Ramyeed in that BMW, because he's a bronze-rated driver. That's a silver driver in Harry George, who hasn't been able to get past him on the opening lap. I thought he would get past him at least by turn 10, but Harry George, and he's ducking and diving left and right. He's got 2 first names in his full name. He's trying to decide which one's the better.
Is there an argument, Joe, to say that Ravi should almost let Harry go here? It's not really his fight. Yes, he wants cars between himself and Mark Warren, but what he really doesn't need is contact.
No, true, but this is holding him up, and that's going to swing the other way, of course, in the pit stop. So he needs to keep this car behind as much as he can to extend the gap for Charlie Robertson. So at the moment, I think this is fair and this is smart driving. I think George has got the run now, though, into Coppice's a short brake zone. So this is a high-risk manoeuvre. George thinks better of it, and it's now the battle behind, isn't it, between McDermott in the Mercedes and the 14 BMW of Chris Salkoud, and there's that given Mark Warren a chance. This is really a 5-car battle, super intense.
Yeah, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th in GT4 title contenders topping and tailing this group for now. That, as it stands, would be the championship situation. It's fairly straightforward, though. Whoever finishes ahead of the other out of these 2 teams really should end up walking away with the championship at the end of the day. At the moment, it's Advantage Century, but that, of course, is a teammate car to the number 90, which is challenging them. So that's an extra little layer of spice to add to that battle. It's a battle that Mahiki Racing are not a part of, though. That 69 car of Luke Garlick has already started to charge away up the road and is now starting to demonstrate the sort of pace that gave that Ginetta a comfortable pole position.
Yeah, the Ginetta's almost not in this shot. You've got the GT3 car of Optimum and Mike Price trying to work his way back through. That could be a help to Harry George. That's going to open a door. It's another sister car to the Optimum GT4. Of course, it's the bigger brother GT3, but that could be something that might help him through on the very hard-charging and determined Ravi Ramid.
A couple of little spots of rain on the camera there at the top of the Craner curves. Nothing to be too concerned about, but we do have black clouds in the area. There was a 20% chance of rain at some point during the day, and it was most likely going to happen early to mid-afternoon. So right about now, there is a very good chance that the weather could become even more of a talking point as we move through the 2 hours. Still, this battle between Ramid and George goes on, and the longer that Ramid keeps Harry George behind him, the longer there is potentially for this group to just settle down, and maybe even if the McLaren goes through, only one position will be lost by Ramid rather than the whole group of GT4 cars coming by. They've already stretched their legs ahead of McDermott, while Salkeld in the background, I think, has just been overtaken by Mark Warren. If that's the case, that is one less car between the title contenders.
Yeah, interesting. The bronze pace and silver pace, and he has got through. Good spot there, Andy, and that's going to really unleash Mark Warren, who's been probably the fastest bronze this year, in my opinion, in GT4. Ravi Ramid now starting to fend. That's going to let that Mahiki Ginetta start to escape, but potentially I think it's going to get some other cars into the battle. Maybe that MKH Aston Martin is going to start to close up too, and that would be a good thing for Orient, and maybe Townsend behind in the other Mahiki Ginetta.
Indeed so. Change for second look. Through has gone Harry George. He's got the job done on Ramid. I think that was into Goddard's, the final corner. And was that a windscreen wiper? Yes, a couple of windscreen wipers starting to work back and forth. If it is raining, it's not heavy yet, but a little bit of psychological rain on the windscreen might just be enough to unnerve some of these drivers. Remember, it's the AM drivers who start the Pro-Am cars, and these are nightmare conditions. They're on slick tyres that aren't yet fully up to temperature, and there's just enough rain to catch their attention, Joe.
Yep, and the winds. That's the other bit to factor in, of course. But George, now his pass has checked out. He's got the pace, and that would have been the frustration on those opening laps, not being able to get that momentum on the way. And here we go, Mark Warren on board. Egg McDermott in front. Ed has missed a few rounds, misses that apex as well. This is going to give us a run to the inside. Are we going to send it down? We need to brake later. We decide not to. Are we going to try and get the cutback? McDermott actually carrying great speed through there. And now the McLaren can put the throttle down, the traction better. Big slide from McDermott. No rain on this sector, but definitely into turn one. Looks like it's getting heavier.
Yeah, umbrellas going up. It's raining here on our commentary position, right near the start-finish line. Bryn Lucas is in the pit lane. Bryn, what's it doing?
Well, I'll tell you what, not only are the clouds moving very, very fast above us there, but the rain is coming down in huge amounts at the moment, and every single team is out looking at the sky, and it looks like some are readying a quick change. I'm not sure that's going to happen with the tyres, but they're all looking very nervously to the sky. It's very wet.
Well, Joe, we've been here before at Donington Park, haven't we, with changeable conditions only a year or so ago. It only takes the conditions to worsen just that 1% too much, and there is nothing that even the greatest drivers can do when they're on the wrong tyres.
But you can't pit for wets until someone else or everyone does. Or there's a full course yellow. Nick Jones losing the Porsche down the Craner curves, has got it facing the right way, and will be able to rejoin, hopefully just before the GT4 field comes through. But that's your illustration. Craner curves is easy flat in the dry. It is not dry. Last laps were well over a second off the pace. So this is getting more and more of a concern and issue as their contact under braking there between Neary and Smith, you would say, well, because there wasn't much gap as we picked it up at the apex.
Richard Neary at one point was developing a real reputation for being a wet weather specialist, and these could be the perfect conditions for the former Donington winner in British GT to make some progress. He almost gets attacked though by the Ferrari, which clipped the tyre stack and knocked it out of position. That could be treacherous for GT4.
The top teams need to get onto the drivers in GT4 and say the line is different. As you can see, a great move from Kevin Say down the inside of Topham. He's now on the back of the Optimum McLaren of Morgan Tilbrook. But watch the GT4. Suddenly they've been stolen full foot of curb on the left-hand side. The teams need to be communicating.
And they are arriving at that part of the circuit now. Fingers crossed the message has got through and they all get through undamaged. Meanwhile, how is Charles Dawson doing? He's in third position, but Giacomo Petrobelli is behind him. That number 7 Aston Martin, remember, tied for second in the championship with the 77 McLaren, is now closing in on Dawson. This is the first real test for Dawson, isn't it? It doesn't matter particularly if the Aston Martin goes through, but how both both drivers handle this battle could be key.
7 seconds off now, the lap times. It has fallen away so quickly. It's so cold. Even though it's a light drizzle, it's not going to evaporate quickly. Yes, the wind is high, but this is going to stay greasy for another lap or two, even when the rain stops. The teams are saying there was no chance of rain, and this is where the forecast versus looking outside. We're telling you, that's what you were saying, Andy. The dark cloud has been looming all day. You can see it in the background. This isn't going to be a light shower potentially. This could get heavier.
The good news is, I suppose, that very strong wind might blow it through quickly. We haven't lost the track yet, have we? We've definitely got a lot of gravel and bodywork on the road down at the chicane after the little wobble for Duncan Cameron's Ferrari a lap ago. The GT4 field, I believe, did get through there more or less in one piece, though, which is excellent, excellent news. Right, into the Melbourne hairpin we go, and off goes the GT4 number 31 Aston Martin. That's the old hairpin, that's in the gravel, and that, Joe, might be going no further.
Yeah, it's going to be a full course yellow, isn't it? Potentially into safety car. Everyone will be told that, so there will be yellow flags in that sector, but this could go into a full course yellow and a lengthy one, couldn't it, to move the tyres back at the chicane and do 2 incidents for the price of 1.
And this is bad news, isn't it, for any team that has a substantial compensation time to serve in the pit lane. What they really want, and remember that 42 car is one of them, is a green flag first hour, build a gap, keep the field nicely spread out, so that when you do have to serve the extra time, 20 seconds extra in the case of car 42, you don't lose as much track position. Early safety cars are not good for 2C's motorsport. The pace slows, the full course yellow is being thrown, and the pace therefore will reduce. We get the notification slightly later than the drivers did, I think, that the full course yellow was out, and yeah, I agree, this will almost certainly eventually lead to a safety car period, so they can pick the speed up and get some heat into the tyres. Well, an awful lot to process over the first, 12.5 minutes or so of racing, Joe. This full course yellow, though, not a bad thing, actually, to maybe allow the weather conditions to pass through.
Yeah, the last lap was much closer to the pace, only a couple of seconds off, so it looks like it was a short shower. Here we have Petrobelli right on the rear bumper. Interesting, we've caught a GT4 car there, haven't we? That's the Jolt car of Williams. It seems to be doing a lot less than 80. At the moment, we're doing 81 kilometres an hour. I can see that on his dash. The teams have the tolerance, so they maximise this full course yellow speed to 80 plus 1. And then we've got everything else going on. The FCY, that's full course yellow, of course, so that will go back to green. That will also be local yellow flags, blue flags as well. And this is really slow. This Jolt McLaren has, I think, been spooked by the telehandler on the left. They've got to be moved back. That shows you the weight of those tyres. That's not a job for a few marshals. That needs a full lift there. But this is an interesting one for the GT3 cars, because they should all be doing 80, should all be maintaining their gaps right now, but that isn't happening. You can see Petrobelli looking around. He's just trying to work out who's behind him. What's Andrew Howard doing in my rear view camera? Why is he looking to my right as another telehandler? Wheel spinning all the way through. Needs to turn the traction control up in that Manitou to get the MKH car, and I think they look like they're going to get that MKH car back on the circuit and release that back into the race.
Yeah, I've just heard that the hope from race control is not to go safety car and just to restart the race, and that means the time that's been lost by the Barwell cars behind that GT4 McLaren could be crucial. If we went safety car, it wouldn't matter. They were going to bunch together anyway, but look, this has brought the whole GT3 group right back together, and if we don't go safety car and we just restart the race after the full course yellow, then everyone is going to be pretty much bumper to bumper. Is the Jolt car heading for the pit lane? Maybe it looks slow. No, it's continuing on, but it's almost acting as a safety car, Joe.
Yeah, I don't think the driver's been well versed there, Williams, in where the full course yellow is. Barwell will be livid at this. It doesn't take much to get Mark Lemmer, the team dictator there, to get revved up, but he will be up in race control trying to get rid of that Jolt car, but it's too late. Look, everyone's closed up, so this is
This will be a long full course yellow. We have a problem with the recovery.
Well, there we go. That answers that question. And a longer full course yellow might then need the safety car afterwards. So a delay with the recovery. I'm guessing this is down at the old hairpin, and that means that this full course yellow is going to last a little bit longer. So, okay, that might bring the blood pressure down in the Barwell Motorsport camp ever so slightly. Shame, though, that they're going to lose this ground, because really both Rob and Alex had done everything right so far, haven't they?
Yeah, they'd been in their own sort of league pace-wise. Same in GT4, wasn't it, with the Mahiki car of Garlic, and look how deep that Aston Martin went. It just kept ploughing and ploughing. So have to go from the rear, and still the telehandler is struggling. I think he needs to take a bit of lock off personally and pull it straighter, but I've never driven one. But as a racing driver, I've always got a strong opinion about saying that's not my business. But yeah, when you pull a race car forwards, obviously in aerodynamic-wise, it's creating drag, and that's why it creates drag through the gravel. But yeah, that's going to be another 2 or 3 laps, and sensible from Peter Day, the race director you heard there. But look, rain still hitting the camera lens here at the top of Coppice. This is a nightmare for the teams and drivers to decide. They will all want to get to the pit window without having to do an extra stop. Jolt, I can see now on the full course yellow because the indicators were flashing, so that's all good there. Luckily for them, they don't lose the lead lap as well for them.
Indeed so. The weather all weekend long has been coming from the Redgate end of the track and going backwards, if you like, up the pit straight and heading towards Coppice and McLean's Last. Well, if I look in the direction of Redgate Corner now, the sky is fairly black. There is more rain, I think, on the way, and with the strength of this wind, it probably won't be too much longer before it gets here. So that is certainly going to be of concern for the teams moving forward. To Joe's point, they don't want to pit before the mandatory pit stop takes place in the middle of the race. If they can stay out there on the slicks and stretch this stint a little bit, then that will definitely help them in the long run. 71 BMW then, Ravi Ramyeed, third in GT4, but the car directly behind them now is their championship rival Optimum Motorsport McLaren. The top 2 in GT4, Bryn Lucas, are absolutely nose to tail.
Charlie, it's very, very nervy at the moment. You're kind of watching on nothing you can do. Full course yellow, that's not the ideal situation for you guys when you've got your rivals right behind.
Yeah, so we know the McLaren has good pace. We've also got good pace. It's just one of those where we've got to try and keep Mark behind us, and Ravi knows the deal. Yeah, it's tense, but we've just got to hope it goes our way.
You've got this pit stop compensation that you've got to contend with as well. When you come in here, that's an extra 15 seconds. That's a big delay. You ideally want to be off down the road ahead and getting some cars between, though.
Ideally, yeah, that would be nice. Obviously, the weather's playing a little bit of a part. We've had a little bit of a rain shower there. A few cars have gone off. I think the stack at the chicane's gone as well. So now we're into probably a safety car, I think, which I guess ebbs the time down a little bit. Obviously, we have less time to build a gap, but we'll see. Anything can happen.
I know you spoke to Joe earlier on, and Ravi's been pretty calm. He's been pretty almost like, well, whatever happens, happens. It's fun. He wants to just enjoy it. For you, coming into this, how easy is it to be able to enjoy? Can you separate the role?
Yeah, I mean, we all do it because we enjoy it. So that's fundamentally the part of it, isn't it? We love motorsport, and to be involved in a title battle again is amazing. So, you know, obviously we want to win it, but we are very much take one step at a time, do the job at hand, and hopefully come the end of the race, we're in the right place. But even if it doesn't go that way, we know we've put absolutely everything into this. So.
Certainly have, but the safety car is out now, so we're going to get going at some point soon, but it'll be a reset from this point. So back to you, Andy.
Yeah, thank you, Bryn. Safety car out. In comes the Mahiki Ginetta from the lead of GT4. What's that all about? This is obviously not the mandatory stop, but that is the 69, I'm pretty sure, which has pitted. Yes, it is. So Luke Garlick is in, and clearly some sort of a drama for the car. Oh, yeah, left front puncture. Now, that could be as a result, Joe, of the debris at the chicane, could it?
Yeah, possibly that. I think it's suspension damage, actually. As that came to a stop, it seemed to unload itself. That's more than a puncture, potentially. Hopefully, it's just the tyre off and I'm wrong. Mechanics checking there to make sure there's no play in that suspension. Definitely okay on the front right, but hopefully they can just put a tyre on, keep on the lead lap. But although the front left corner looks okay, you'd expect if it's hit the tyre barrier there to do some more damage. Maybe it's just a simple debris puncture, and they've got to get all 5 wheel nuts on and get this tight. They've got time at the moment. The safety car is in the chicane. They've got about 25 seconds. That's probably the reason. Look at the amount of gravel. Those sharp stones have probably just sliced that front left. Hopefully they can get that car in the next 15 seconds and stay on the lead lap.
Yeah, that's the concern for everyone now, though, isn't it? That gravel and the little bits of bodywork that were strewn across the road at the chicane, it could well cause this problem for somebody else. Back into the race they go. As Joe said, they're still on the lead lap. If they have time to catch the back of the queue before the safety car restart, they are right back in this. Bryn, I saw, was marching with purpose towards the Mahiki Racing Garage. Bryn, what can you tell us?
I can tell you he hit the tyre stack, and that's what caused the puncture. It was a puncture. There was no suspension damage, anything like that. They just got it in, got it changed, and off they went. So, bit of a collision with a tyre stack, not ideal.
Well, and Joe, we said that was the danger, that he would have been the first GT4 car on the scene when the tyre stack moved.
Yeah, and the first thing he would have known about it then was as the front left clattered, and yeah, unfortunately didn't get any prior warning, so I'm on the driver's defence there. The positive he has, if he does catch the safety car, is he will have phenomenal tyre temperature, because he's been going relatively flat out pace-wise. You should actually see him in the back of shot coming onto the back straight. There's a group of 3 cars all clustered together. It's the MKH Aston, it's the Jolt McLaren still going slowly, then our former race leader tucked up behind, so he'll be trying to get that Jolt car out the way as the sister Mahiki car continues to circulate after a huge rebuild after a mammoth crash in free practice on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm almost tempted to say it's not even the same car that had that accident yesterday morning. It is, but they fitted basically an entire set of new parts to it throughout yesterday and probably into the night, which has allowed them to get the car out on circuit. So Mahiki Racing have 2 Ginettas on show, but this is the one that really they had most of their hopes on for a really good result, and maybe they're still in it because they are still on the lead lap. Right, the next question to be answered is when will we go racing again? Rob Collard there accelerating, braking, getting some heat into the tyres and watching to see when the lights extinguish on the safety car ahead. The Lotus safety car brings them through Coppice, and when those lights do go out, we will get the race back underway. That's not going to happen yet though, Joe, because rightly so, I think race control want to make sure they clear as much of this gravel as possible.
Yeah, and the Marshals doing a mega job at the moment. They've got 2 packs of cars. They're able to work for 40 seconds, and then they have to clear as the pack comes through. And the next corner they're approaching is the gravel-strewn chicane. And yeah, I'm still not sure it's hit the tyre stack because hasn't got a scratch on the bodywork. So unless he's got a load of left hand down and he's clipped this tyre stack on the left, possibly. But I still think probably a debris puncture is more likely for that Mahiki car.
Marshall's doing a good job down at the chicane. You must know as a marshal, if you get posted at the chicane here at Donington Park, you're probably in for a busy day. We had a lot of incidents there in support races, and already inside the first 15 minutes of this, there has been drama at the chicane. The Ferrari, by the way, that was the culprit of all of that, Duncan Cameron, is still going. So although he's lost a bit of bodywork, still very much in the race. This, Joe, was a replay of the start, and it was because of that stop-go thing that was going on at the front of the GT3 field, it really did have an effect on GT4, didn't it?
It certainly did. Need to keep an eye on that green McLaren out P12 as they turn in. Gets turned around any time now, and actually completely on his own there was Mike Price. Looked like the NSX, the Honda in front, just checked up, and he was avoiding contact there. Cold rear tyres, and that's looped around Barwell running in formation. And then this was the overtake from Tilbert. Round the outside, closes the door, and you can see a bit of debris and bodywork coming off the front of Kevin Say car. This must be Nick Jones losing it on the slippery surface through the Craner curves, full 360 on the grass, down a couple of gears, and he will continue on his way. But it really showed you how the
safety car will be in this lap.
Safety car in this lap, Joe. This is what happened to Duncan Cameron, who I think again was caught out by the conditions. So too was Chung Chong Ipluk, who went through the gravel trap directly behind. And this then was the reason eventually for the stoppage. And it was Michael Orant in the MKH Racing Aston Martin. Again, I suspect the weather had something to do with that. He was off at the old hairpin. And near disaster for Richard Neary. And then further contact for Duncan Cameron as the number 9 McLaren of Mark Smith tried to figure out exactly which side of the tyre stack it was going to go. Safety car in this time then, so a half a lap away from getting the race resumed. We still have fairly leaden skies above us, but I don't see any windscreen wipers going. I don't see any fresh rain falling, but there will be a big question mark in the minds of the drivers as they barrel off towards Redgate Corner, exactly how much or little grip they may have.
Yeah, maybe a few drops hitting the windscreen of Dawson as we rode through Coppice. That seemed to be where the rain was at its heaviest, and yeah, I still think there's a bit in the air. So it's over to Rob Collard in the number 1 Lamborghini to control the pace, back everyone up, and then decide when to drop the hammer. The tyres still won't be at their optimal temperature, so this could be a sketchy couple of laps for these drivers.
Yeah, absolutely so. They'll have lost temperature behind the safety car, and the track conditions haven't got any better, really, over the last few minutes. On board here with Charles Dawson, who's doing everything he needs to do, but remember, what's coming under some threat from Giacomo Petrobelli's Aston Martin immediately before the full course yellow came out, and Giacomo, by the looks of the restart that he's just had, is going to continue exactly where he left off, right on the back of the number 42 Mercedes. Rob Collard, though, gets the race back underway, already weaving around to try and generate some tyre temperature, and there is definitely fresh rain falling as they head for Redgate Corner. Pick your braking point. The leaders have got into the corner okay, but this is properly treacherous.
Yeah, that is slippery. You can see on the Delta, Petrobelli was already a second down. Look at the tyre marks being left. No one has any idea who's got the grip, who doesn't. This has got to have someone going off through crane the curves, because this is seriously wet. Crank the traction control up, boys. Lift your vision up. Get off the racing line. Try and find some grip off the slippery bit. Everyone has done phenomenally well thus far, because this is now getting to a point where you've got to box for wet tyres.
Oh, and off goes Richard Neary. He's heading for the barriers. Crunch into the tyre wall he goes. And Richard Neary is off the road, the first to be caught out by the conditions, perhaps not the last. It doesn't look quite as bad at this part of the circuit, but the rain is heading this way. And yes, it is raining. Look at the top of the hill at Coppice Corner. Richard Neary gets going again. That's good news. Nick Jones is off again. He's really not enjoying himself this afternoon. 2 spins already in these slippery conditions. What about GT4? It's still Century ahead, and the BMW looking a bit more sure-footed perhaps than the McLaren.
Yeah, the McLaren with its carbon fibre chassis so stiff, hates these conditions. All the teams have just put a dry setup on the car. They all thought no rain was possible. All of them said that to me. I couldn't believe it. And this is now going to start to hurt them. There's no time for setup change in the pit window. All you're going to have time to do is throw some tyres on it and hope for the best. Saying that, Mark Warren, great run out of this chicane. I think he's got a chance to get down the inside of Ravi Ramid into the hairpin.
Salkeld having a little go at Ed McDermott as well. What's going on in front of them? Well, the GT3 field are heading through Goddard. The Barwell Lamborghinis seem absolutely fine, don't they? Rob Collard and Alex Martin have vanished into the distance. The battle is for third, and it's between 2 of our title contenders. Giacomo Petrobelli pulls alongside Charles Dawson on the outside on the way into Redgate, but looking for the better exit. Dawson, though, clever defensive driving there. Park the car in the apex and keeps the Aston Martin at bay.
Car 66, a drive-through penalty, full course yellow speed infringement. 66, drive-through penalty.
Oh, and here comes Petrobelli to the inside of the old hairpin. There is contact, and around goes Dawson. No, the championship leader is off the road. So is Petrobelli, and Tilbrook got past the lot of them. Charles Dawson's championship leading car is off the road. It carries on, and they almost make secondary contact, but that was exactly what we feared. In these conditions, a championship on the line, and it's 2 of the contenders who come together, Joe.
My instinct was Petrobelli was down the inside enough for that to be a legitimate move, and Dawson closed the door on him. That's my first take on it. There was that awkward moment when they locked eyes, sat across each other on the track. Kevin Say now has gone off as well. That could have been more contact. He was in a cluster of cars coming up to Coppice. This is all kicking off. We've got the championship on the line. I don't know where to call it. Will Petrobelli have damage? Will Dawson have damage?
Well, you and I, Joe, said after qualifying yesterday, I don't think this is going to be a straightforward championship run for 2Cs Motorsport, and that is proving to be the case. In GT4, it's no more straightforward. Look at Mark Warren, we're on board with him now, and we are challenging Ravi Ramid. Remember, it's basically winner takes all between these 2 for the championship, and they're less than a car length apart into the chicane. Keep an eye to that 69 Ginetta, by the way. That is absolutely charging through the order, and Luke Garlick could very soon be back in contention for the lead.
Sun's out now. Where's that come from? So suddenly the track's going to change again. There's a 69 car, send it to the inside of Salkeld. Seen him, he has. Is he trying to do McDermott all at one? This has really gone really quickly the other way, hasn't he? Everyone has done so well. That 69 car, remember, we nearly lost a lap needing a tyre, is suddenly flying up the order, and Garlick is doing really well. He's taking Townsend with him in the sister car.
He's doing double the distance of everybody else, Luke Garlick, weaving around behind Chris Salkeld and trying not to get in the way of Richard Neary, whose car looks remarkably undamaged after that collision with the tyre stack. Nick Jones coming back out of the pit lane, having served his drive-through penalty. An awful lot going on, and we are only half an hour into this Donington decider. It never fails to deliver, does it? A bit of a touch was that, and Luke Garlick almost off the road.
That was high speed. Garlick did well to save that. I think there Salkeld needs to give him a bit more space. Is Garlick going to return the favour? Salkeld left the door open, almost apologetically so, thinking, I'm sorry for the contact going round Hollywood, and now you can see Garlick on the attack once more. We've got to say Harry George checked out of this GT4 battle. He's 8.5 seconds up the road on all of these GT4s. That still has Ravi Ramid with the McLaren behind, this time Mark Warren.
Fantastic stuff. Right, Ravi Ramid then at the front of this group. Another lunge there from Luke Garlick, who gets to the inside of Ed McDermott for about the third time this lap. Can he finally make this move stick down the back straight? Ginetta versus Mercedes, with Chris Salkeld's BMW keeping a watching brief behind them. The next part of the track goes left into the chicane, and that should favour Ed McDermott's Mercedes on the way in, at least, which it does. But the Ginetta should have better exit speed, and we're all probably going to arrive down at the Melbourne hairpin together, aren't they? McDermott, interestingly, doesn't defend the inside line. That invites Luke Garlick through, and at long last, he makes that move stick. That was a move that was coming for about a lap before he finally unlocked the door and managed to step through it. That is 4th place in GT4 now for the Mahiki Ginetta, and he will now set off after the leaders. Right, Joe, talk us through it.
Yeah, so we're on board with the Aston at the time. We get to the inside. We're alongside, the front wheels are nearly level. For me, Petrobelli's gone down enough. Darren Lung, Aaron Howard do phenomenal. Morgan Tilbrook keeps it pinned and just sends it and takes 4 places in one corner. So this is where we were like, for me, we get to the inside. We've signalled our intent. We've got down the inside. We've stopped the car. We're making the apex. Bang! Dawson cuts across the front. We get the opposite lock on. Darren Lung's millimetres off our rear bumper. Where's Charles Dawson? Hello, mate. How are you doing? And then I thought they were going to clash as they rejoin. They're both looking ongoing. Here's the onboard from Dawson. He looks in his mirror. He sees Petrobelli. Does he look again? He does not. He just commits in. The first time he knows there's contact is when they bang. There's Petrobelli. There's Howard. There's Lung. And there was Tilbrook making his escape. Kieran Jewiss looks on. That's the first time he sees that. Doesn't react neither to 2Cs. They're serial winners at 2Cs. They'll know what to do. Doesn't look like there's much damage, but that will be a concern.
Well, we believe Bryn Lucas has been down in the 2Cs garage and has an update for us, Bryn.
Yeah, and I'm still down here. It's very, very nervous, you can imagine. Kieran Jewiss looked across at me, raised his eyebrows, and I said to him, any damage? And he just tutted, looked away a bit. I spoke to the team. Charles is reporting vibrations. He's got vibrations. They're not sure quite what it means. He's still running well, as you can see, but certainly not 100%, that's for sure. Just quickly, Blackthorn, no issues reported on the car yet from Giacomo. So 1-0 to Giacomo at this stage.
Well, yes, in a way, although he actually rejoined behind Dawson, who is currently the fastest car on the track. Now, what does all of this mean for the championship? Well, it means that this car is still leading, but only by 10 points now from Hugo Cook in the SRO Motorsport car, which leads the way quite comfortably, 3.5 seconds up the road from his teammate Alex Martin. Morgan Tilbrook, though, Joe, the big winner. He's into 3rd place, and he is quicker than the 2 cars in front of him. Remember, if Optimum win, then that really starts to tighten up this championship fight.
It really will, and Kirchhofer to get in that car has been in phenomenal form, hasn't he, this season? Dawson down in 9th. That really shows you how strong their championship lead was. Collard and Cook can't score any more points, so that's worst case right now. Dawson needs to steady this ship. He's got Topham in front of him, who is a pretty feisty character in his own right. Is he going to lunge? Is he going to sit there? Pit window still 30 minutes away or so, so he's still got to do a fair amount of laps, so he'll want to clear the car, but with no risk.
So we have there Hugo Cook leading the way, Alex Martin 2nd. There looking 3rd place is Morgan Tilbrook, and then that 22 Darren Leung car is in 4th. Remember, that car doesn't score points. Andrew Howard is 5th, Chun Chong Ip is 6th in the Honda, and Duncan Cameron 7th, who was off the road earlier on. This then is the battle for 8th position. Topham 8th, Dawson 9th, but 2 cars ahead of Charles Dawson do not score points, so he's in 9th place on the road. That is 7th as far as the point scorers are concerned, and that was what they needed. If either car 77 or car 7 win the race, then 7th place is still enough for 2Cs, so they're okay from a points perspective, Joe, but he's reporting this vibration. What could that be? Because there may be a vibration, but his lap times are perfectly fine.
Yeah, I can see the vibration as we ride on board of him. I hope for him it's a front right wheel has been buckled, but that's the only thing they will want, because they can obviously change the tyres in the pit stop, but you can just see the resonance in this vibration coming through the camera, and I think I can see it in his hands as well. It's not big, so it's not going to detonate itself, but for sure that car isn't running as smoothly as it could. Luckily for them, race control already say racing incident, so if it was more Dawson's fault than Petrobelli, Race control don't care. No further action for this car or Petrobelli in the 7.
I'm trying to get a look at the steering wheel. I didn't see it sort of off to one side down the straight, so the steering seems okay. His lap times are perfectly comparable to the cars at the very front of the field. He might just have dodged a major bullet there, but there are more black clouds on the horizon. There is an hour and 25 minutes of racing still to go, and remember, they've got 20 extra seconds to serve in the pit lane when we get to the mandatory pit stop, so they've lost quite a lot of ground already. They were always going to lose ground when we got to the pit window, so that is going to be a really interesting scenario. In fairness to them, though, car 77, they have 15 seconds to serve as well. Right, this is the battle for 5th place. Andrew Howard having a brilliant weekend, and remember, he's in contention for this GT3 Silver Am battle, which is the car that he's fighting for in that. Well, of course, it's the British Motorsport car, which has suddenly appeared right behind him.
Yeah, and pace at the moment good for Andrew Howard, but so is the Honda. Duncan Cameron has woken up, hasn't he? He's trying to get down the inside of the Honda. Brakes late. The Honda turns in across the front. I don't think he saw him. Cameron doing very well to back out of that to avoid contact. Dawson now on the inside of Topham, trying to ease him out. It's going to be a drag race in that back of shot, and it should be Topham's corner here because the first part of the chicane is left. What's Dawson going to do? He backs out of it. He's going to have to tuck in behind, try and get the undercut back through. Topham's pace is good, though, and I don't think this move's going to happen in the remainder of this lap.
But Joe, these are exactly the kind of battles that Charles Dawson did not want to be having to get involved in. Big lunge up the inside there for the Honda, and Chun Chong Gip goes through into 5th position then ahead of Andrew Howard. But this is a 5-way battle. He's got 4 cars to try and overtake here, Charles Dawson. That's 4 possibilities for further contact, and it almost happens there at Goddard's. Does Topham leave him space? Yes, in fairness. Very good driving that from Matt Topham. He didn't run Jewiss out wide, and now Kian has got the inside line for Redgate.
Yeah, and I think Dawson will get the job done. He'll be late on the brakes and he'll just hold out the McLaren there, and does well. But actually, Topham fighting back now. Job is done. Dawson will check the mirror now. Next target, this 296 Duncan Cameron run by of course, has been getting better and better as the season's gone on. They've not been a full season entry, but every time they come back, it's great to have them on the grid.
2 fastest cars on the racetrack at the moment, by the way, are Morgan Tilbrook 3rd and Darren Leung 4th. They are both closing in quite rapidly now on Alex Martin in 2nd place, who is 4.5 seconds now adrift of race leader Rob Collard. We ride on board with Jewiss. There are the leading 2, but it's 2nd, 3rd, 4th that are starting to come together. Any more places that Morgan Tilbrook can pick up, and it applies further pressure to the 2C squad in this championship race. Darren Leung, of course, he's just here for a good time. He wants to try and get onto the top step of the podium and probably doesn't care all that much who he has to overtake to get there.
You say that to Darren's face, that he's just here for a good time. He's the world's most competitive man, and he'll want to finish his season on a high. Here we see the GT4 battle, Ramid versus Warren. They're not friends. I don't care what they were telling me on the grid. I could see it in their eyes pre-race. So this will be no love lost whatsoever. They will both be fair, I'm sure of that, but don't expect it to potentially be clean. Just a left field strategy to corner off. Mike Price in the Optimum McLaren pitted for wets and then has gone back to slick. So that was a gamble. Spoke to the team. They said they saw rain on the radar, and it's obviously not materialised.
Okay, interesting stuff. So that Optimum McLaren will lose ground. This Optimum McLaren, though, looks likely to maybe gain some. In qualifying yesterday, Joe, a fairly clear advantage seemed to lie with the Century BMW, didn't it? In both sessions, it looked the quicker of the 2 cars, but in race conditions, through all of the calamity and the chaos and the unpredictability, Mark Warren at the moment seems a match for Ravi Ramid.
He really does, isn't he? Following in his wheel tracks. This is the view he's got. The ebb and flow of Donington Park. Also, balanced performance. These cars almost couldn't be more different, could they? BMW engine in the front. McLaren mid-engined, low, sleek sports car. Whereas that BMW, look how big it is. It's already towering over us as Dawson has now cleared Cameron and is now trying to clear that NSX. But that NSX is so fast in a straight line. That might be a struggle. And Dawson looking racy, isn't he? They're squeezing each other late on the brakes. He's going to get that done. Phenomenal. And so does Cameron round the outside.
Wow, brilliant stuff. Opportunistic stuff that from Duncan Cameron at the corner at which it all went wrong for him earlier on. He gains another position. We believe there's been a little bit of contact in this group somewhere, so we'll piece that together as now Giacomo Petrobelli starts to join in as well. Charles Dawson then to the front of the group, but we believe, Joe, there's been a little bit of paint traded.
Yeah, the front of this Mercedes has popped up, hasn't it, the bonnet, and you can see why. He's loaded in the back there. That could have easily damaged the radiator and just the bodywork. So Dawson here's the onboard. We brake too late and we'll be hard into the ABS, bang, and just locks up. He was hyper fixated with the rear of that Honda rather than looking at the apex. And I mean, he then gets the move done. Is that going to attract some interest from race control? Is that bonnet going to fly up? The Mercedes runs what I'd call a standard road car bonnet configuration, where it lifts up from the front. So if the air gets under and those latches fail, the little black dots on the corner of the latches down to the chassis, that could fly up, and that would be race over because the windstream would be destroyed.
So potential damage, potentially race control will have a look at that. I mean, there was a push and then there was a pass. Whether they deem the push to have led directly to that is another matter. Cian Jewiss probably can't wait to get in the car, can he? This is the worst feeling for a driver, sitting in the garage completely powerless, watching as seemingly everyone throws everything they've got at this 42 car.
Yeah, it looks like he's watching a Formula 1 race, doesn't he, rather than a British GT one, but I am worried about the panel gap on the leading edge of that bonnet. The 2C's team, well, he's probably will put some tape over that in the pit stop as we go back to this GT4 battle, and Mark Warren still looming. Has Ravi Ramid got the nerves to hold him off? Is there a mistake which will let the 90 car through? Their stint is coming towards the end. They have to do a minimum of 58 minutes. So in 11 minutes and 18 seconds, they could be stopping to get their second drivers in.
Now, if you're Mark Warren here, Joe, what are you doing? You clearly have the pace to run with Ravi Ramid. Maybe he feels he's got the pace to make a move. But remember, car 71 has 15 seconds compensation time to serve in the pit lane. Now, if you're Optimum, you don't want to rely too heavily on that. A safety car could negate all of that advantage, but is it worth going for a risky move that could end in contact?
This is the age-old adage, isn't it? Risk versus reward. And I think Mark Warren, very cool, very calculated, will just want to be asking the question. Try and force a mistake. That's always the easiest overtake, one that you don't physically have to do because the car in front has gone off. They will be factoring in the GT3 cars, which are going to start lapping them very shortly. That could be another obvious way round, or that might lose him time. The fascination of multi-class racing in British GT never gets boring for me.
This, remember, is for third in GT4. Luke Garlick, having got past both of these two, is now chasing off after Harry George, who's already gone across the timing line, such as his advantage. Luke Garlick is only about to come across the line now, and the official lead margin is 11.2 seconds, and it came down by 0.3 on the previous lap. Here comes the overall race leader, Rob Collard, though, and he is about to try and negotiate this battle for the GT4 title. He gets up the inside of the Optimum McLaren and lunges Ravi Ramid's BMW. Now, this will delay Ramid and could be the opportunity that Mark Warren's been after.
Yeah, Ravi kind of defended that from Collard, trying to say, I don't want you to overtake, but that compromised him, whereas Mark Warren saw the Lamborghini in front of him, behind him into the last corner, decided to open up the exit to let him through, and it's definitely advantage to this McLaren thus far with the first GT3 car coming past.
But almost only a car length or so between the two of them as they head through. Off goes Tilbrook, bounces through the gravel. Is it raining again? I thought I saw some spots on the camera lens then. Through goes Darren Leung, and that is for third position. I was just about to make the point that Tilbrook was only a second and a half behind Alex Martin at the beginning of the lap, and then off the road he goes. He survived it, but that could prove to be a costly loss of time.
Yeah, last lap times were okay, so it obviously wasn't damp on that one, but you would say with Tilbrook going off, Darren having his windscreen wiper on that Aston Martin, and that was a brave move for him to send it round the outside. He knows that McLaren from racing it in the World Endurance Championship, so he will know the strengths and the weaknesses. Tilbrook will be fired up now, because like you said, his pace has been phenomenal. After the safety car, he's really been the man on the move. Doesn't seem to be any damage there, but he's going to get the run back on the Aston.
Yes, he is, because Leung was delayed by Chris Salkal's GT4 BMW. The other Century car's being ushered out wide by Alex Martin. Leung stands his ground, gets a huge slide on corner exit, and does that give Tilbrook the inside line into Goddard? It might have done. There's a squeeze from Leung. Tilbrook's aiming for the grass. This could so easily end in a touch. It's been good, clean racing so far, but they're doing this, Joe, whilst also negotiating those GT4 cars.
Yeah, the GT4 cars are just trying to exist, aren't they? Whereas these GT3s thunder past with the extra power and grip, of course, go on board of Darren Leung. Are we going to be able to get to the inside of Mark Warren here in that McLaren in front? Mark leaving the door open, now close to it. Smart driving again, so Darren has to go around the outside. This will then maybe be a lunge on the BMW into the old hairpin. Darren decides not to positions the car well to make it obvious to Ravi Ramid that he's not coming past. Now he's going to try and blast round the outside. Ravi gives him space, so that was efficient use of traffic. You can see how tight it is in places here at Donington Park. It's difficult with the slower GT4 cars.
So all of that means now that it is once again a 3-second second gap from Martin in second, back to now Leung in third. And in the end, actually, this has been advantage Ramyeed in GT4, hasn't it? He's gained time, definitely, on Mark Warren. There is Charles Dawson. He is now into the top 5. Really good recovery drive, this. Not only because he's gaining places, but to do this whilst putting that disappointment of the spin into the back of his mind would be very easy, I think, to focus on that and think, oh, it's all going wrong.
He's spamming the headlight flash. His right thumb is on that hard, and he's just trying to warn the GT4 drivers that he's in a hurry. But remember, they are the cars that stick to their line. The GT3s are the cars that have to make their moves, and some of these gaps so small. As a driver, I've raced in both 3 and 4. You're just so tense. You're expecting the contact. It's like in a multi-story intercity car park where you're like, how close am I? And then bang, you realise you've smashed into the pillar. But this in a race car is incredibly hard to do, lap after lap. Thus far, it's been really clean.
Charles Dawson then a 1:28.888. That was 2 seconds quicker than Morgan Tilbrook after all of the traffic came into play on the previous lap. And it ebbs and it flows, doesn't it? Ramyeed had gained time on Mark Warren. Now Mark Warren seems to close back in. This is for 3rd place overall in GT4. It's for the lead in the Pro-Am class, but more importantly, it is for the championship victory. As it stands, Century Motorsports, Ravi Ramyeed and Charlie Robertson would be champions by 8 points over Mark Warren and Jack Brown, but they've got that extra time to serve in the pit lane later on, and that's going to be key, isn't it? Ideally, they would have liked to have had a bit more than a couple of car lengths advantage at this stage over car 90.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge swing, and at the moment, actually, Harry George's pace so strong, he's nearly got the silver compensation time over the sister car of Warren and Ramyeed, but that's going to be clear of Ramyeed after the 15 seconds are added for the 71 BMW.
At Topham there, pulls up alongside Ed McDermott, and then Giacomo Petrobelli. His lap times, difficult to tell at the moment because of the traffic, but they've been okay, so I think he possibly escaped that skirmish with Charles Dawson damage-free as well, but that was a great opportunity for Blackthorn to put this car properly into the championship conversation, and now he is several positions and several seconds, crucially, about 9 seconds behind Dawson as it stands. Again, though, we know car 42 will have a slower pit stop than the number 7. The number 7 has no compensation time to serve. So in another 15 minutes, Joe, we could have a completely different complexion.
Yeah, I just feel like Dawson's been better since the clash, hasn't it? Getting through this traffic past the GT4 car. Ramyeed, you saw Mark Warren put an indicator on there. The better GT4 drivers having the mental capacity to let these GT3s through. Both Aston Martins from Blackthorn still got a wiper on. I feel like it's like they can't find the button off, though. It's on the intermediate wipe, isn't it? And there's not really much rain, and that's a nice shot. We've got the shot of our GT3 leader and the GT4 leader all as one, but showing you both cars dominating their classes.
Yes, it's a 5.6 second lead for Rob Collard in GT3. For Harry George, it is an 11.7 second lead over Luke Garlick, who is no longer catching. That gap is going out now, and this number 17 McLaren is the fastest car in GT4 right now. Alex Martin there, the second placed GT3 Lamborghini, coming up to challenge as well. He's got 5.1 seconds over Tilbrook, who's now got, over Leung in third, who's got Tilbrook fourth, and Charles Dawson with a new fastest lap of the race, a 1:27.3. Charles Dawson, Joe, was the only driver on the previous lap to even set a personal best, and not only that, it was the fastest anyone's been so far.
Yeah, phenomenal. And Harry George has had a strong stint, but there is some damage on the front left corner of that McLaren, maybe from the tyre stack at the chicane, so they'll be careful. 3 wide here into the Melbourne hairpin. McDermott trying to get out of the way. You can see Kevin Say there fighting back against the Honda. Fair racing so far, but Kevin Say not happy this weekend. Spoke to him after qualifying, just didn't have the tyre temp, and it seems to have gone into the race. This man has been phenomenally fast. Race winner, of course, in British GT, but at the moment, really struggling to get that car anywhere near it should be, and he's finally back into the top 10.
Mark Warren, I thought, was sizing up Ramyeed there for a move. Kevin Say is defending his newly acquired 10th place in GT3 from Chun Chong Ip, but the 2 cars ahead are closer than they've been for a while, and Warren doesn't want to relinquish that track position by allowing Kevin Say through, so Kevin has to sit behind the GT4 car through the Craner curves, and now goes to the inside of the old hairpin. That's going to delay Mark Warren slightly on the exit of the corner. He just has to hope that the same thing happens when those two come up to overtake Ravi Ramyeed, but this is the life of a GT4 driver, isn't it?
Have we got a puncture?
Oh, with off the pace and off the racing line, or were we just allowing Andrew Howard through? That did look odd, didn't it?
Yeah, it's hard for the GT3s to gauge. I just was amazed how offline and how slow and how much time we've lost. It looks okay now, so I take back my rash statement at the start, but look how much time we've lost to the BMW in front. We were only, what, 2 car lengths behind into turn 1, and we're now losing time. The GT3's pull away. All looks normal now to me, but suddenly I just thought we had no pace.
Well, bear in mind, Mark Warren was squeezed offline at the old hairpin by the GT3 cars, but picked up some dirt on the tyres, knocked him out of the rhythm maybe, and he is driving, I think, a little bit cautiously here. I haven't seen the body language of the car, doesn't say attack, does it? I think he's quite content at the moment to see out the remaining 10 minutes or so of this stint and bring the car in exactly where it is, knowing that all things being equal, they should leapfrog ahead of the BMW anyway at the pit stops. A bit more rain maybe falling there at Goddard's. Yes, definitely quite heavy actually. Rain lights on and windscreen wipers starting to be switched on as well. And Joe, we're approaching that pit window. If the rain gets heavy enough, there is an opportunity for someone to make a gamble.
Yeah, and it's a huge gamble. It seems like, why wouldn't you put wets on? If you put wets on a dry track, you're 12 seconds a lap slower. So that is why you have to be on the right tyre. But if you go slicks while it's raining and you pull it in the wall, that's worse again. So that is the gamble, and that's where the experienced drivers make the call. The engineer can see the data, can have their input, but always, for me as a driver, I decided the tyre that I was going on, and if it was right or wrong, it was on my shoulders.
This the battle for 5th place in GT4, by the way. Ed McDermott's Endurance Cup entered Mercedes. He is trying to keep Chris Salkeld at bay. Remember, the 14 BMW is battling for Silver Cup Championship honours with the number 17 McLaren, which is dominating the race. So that battle looks at the moment to be swinging very decisively in the favour of Optimum Motorsport. Here comes Salkeld to the inside of McDermott out of Coppice, but that becomes the outside at the chicane, where we know it is rainy. You can see the evidence of that on the camera. Late on the brakes for Salkeld, though. That's committed, turns in, avoids the tyre stack, and that was a bit of a block pass, but it worked, and the BMW will pick up 5th position in class. So Chris Salkeld gains the position and starts to set off after the cars ahead. Now, I did spot... oh, look at this, and we'll get back to the weather in a moment, because this is Tilbrook versus Dawson. This is for 4th position. Joe, there is some heavy rain on the way, and it might come just at the time that this battle between 2 title contenders hits fever pitch.
Dawson's confidence is awesome, isn't it? But Tilbrook, now the first car Dawson's caught, that's for championship potentially. So Tilbrook is going to be robust. He's going to be fired up. He's closing the door left and right. Dawson trying to fill the space, trying to spot the gap. We're going to get a run. Tilbrook with a huge number. Oh, no! It turns him around, and that's going to be damage. Tilbrook does well. He's going to get in the gravel. He should get out of it. Is there going to be more damage on that McLaren? Whose fault was that?
It's popped the radiator grill off, I think, hasn't it? Hopefully nothing more than that, but that could definitely be a talking point. Tilbrook rejoins right in front of a group of cars, including the GT4 leader, and that is the second time now that Charles Dawson has tangled with a championship rival. I'm not saying either of them were his fault necessarily, but within, what, the 53 minutes he's been in the car, he's already had contact with both of the cars that could potentially beat 42 to the championship. Joe, what drama?
I think it's on Dawson. I think he puts a right wheel on the inside as he's trying to get down. And I think as he does that, that pops the car up. There, look, he's on the grass. He's into the side of Tilbrook. It's so difficult when you get these shots. There's so much at stake. So just watch here. We get the cutback. All fair. We touch the grass. Now we pop up. We understeer. We hit the back of Tilbrook. We spin him around. All I would say is, what can Tilbrook do? You can see Dawson, hands off the wheel. Wow, what happened there? I think this car was innocent. Luckily, it's continuing. Will that affect the penalty, potentially, for Dawson in this 42 radiator grille-less Mercedes?
Well, ironically, Tilbrook's rejoined directly behind Giacomo Petrovelli, the other title contender with whom Dawson's tangled with. Look at the state of that car, though. That is not the manner in which it came out of the factory, that's for sure. He's had quite a troubled opening stint as Charles Dawson. He's in 4th position, but there is very little of the front of that Mercedes that looks as it should. We'll monitor his lap times. Previous one, of course, he lost a fair chunk of time, but that now, Joe, I would imagine is enough damage to possibly start affecting aerodynamics.
Massively so. Look at it. It looks like a classic set of British teeth, doesn't it? They're wonky, they're strewn all over the shop, and that car, I think so. Petrovelli, bang, in the back of the Honda of it, bang, into the side back of Tilbrook, bang. I think he's done the tyres as well as chicane, because look at the damage on his front right corner. I don't think that's from any of those 3 clashes. This is is turning out to be one of the most expensive Destruction Derby races ever for the 2Cs 42 car.
And is it going to cost them a championship? We'll have to wait and see. That incident is under investigation. You won't be shocked to hear. Morgan Tilbrook was pretty fired up before the race started. I'd imagine his blood pressure has hit the roof now, and he's locked in now behind Giacomo Petrobelli, the pair of them seemingly being held up slightly by Matt Topham, who has struggled a little bit in the changeable conditions, I would say. He's back into 5th position, but largely due to attrition, really, for everybody else. Tilbrook and Petrobelli, then, they're still in this. If they can gain some ground, if a penalty or a further delay occurs for the 42 car, then these two could still be in contention for the championship. Something else that's happened, by the way, off-screen, is the lead gap, which at one point was about 5.5 seconds between the two Barwell Lamborghinis, has shrunk to 1.8 seconds. So Rob Collard's pace, I don't know if it was an isolated incident or if this is an ongoing drama, has absolutely vanished, and those two Lamborghinis are getting themselves closer and closer at the front of the field. Wherever you look, Joe, there is a battle, and usually it's quite an important one.
Yeah, it's been difficult for the drivers today. With the wind that we spoke about, we haven't really touched on that much more, but that is very blustery, offering very different levels of aerodynamics, grip, each corner, each lap, and then the rain. So I'm not surprised at the amount of contact. I am surprised at the amount of contact for our championship leader. However, as you can see, the race format 2 hours, and there are your minimum times, so we're really not far away from the GT4 window.
No, we are not. So the pit window then, the minimum drive time for GT3 is 62 minutes, for GT4 58, and we generally see the cars come in at the first available opportunity. So as close to 58 minutes in for GT4 and 62 for GT3. There is a minimum pit stop time from pit entry to pit exit, 115 seconds for GT3 and 145 seconds for GT4, with an extra 24 seconds for the Silver Cup drivers, and that's before we start adding in the compensation time. There is a 10-second penalty for Charles Dawson's number 42 car, so they've lost track position, they're carrying damage, they've got 20 seconds to serve in the pit stop, and an extra 10 seconds now to be added that will be served in the mandatory stop and will lose them further ground.
So that penalty effectively is putting him behind Tilbrook. Tilbrook is 10 seconds behind him after that clash. So I think that's a fair penalty. I think it's on the lenient side for the 42, but Dawson won't agree with that, I'm sure. He's going to be fired up. He's going to want to try and get some time. The bodywork damage getting worse as well.
Yeah, so already 20 seconds to serve in the pit lane for 42. An extra 10 have now been added to that. However, saving grace for them is that the 77 McLaren, with whom they tangled, also has 15 seconds to serve. So in essence, the 77 car will have a 15-second shorter pit stop now than 42. Giacomo Petrobelli's car that he'll hand over to Johnny Adam, though, has no time to be served at all. In GT4, the race leader has 20 seconds to serve. Ravi Ramy's BMW has 15 seconds to serve. And the number 30 car is not taking part in the race in the end, so those 10 seconds will be served by nobody. So the picture over the next 5 to 10 minutes is going to completely change all over again.
Yeah, I think the saving grace for this car, why I think it's still on to win the championship, is that I think Sandy Mitchell's going to win this race quite comfortably. When he takes over the car, Hugo Cook in the lead's got that extra pit stop penalty. I think it's going to be a Barwell 1-2. The big point-scoring positions are going to be filled by those two Lambos, in my opinion, right now, if they don't have any problems, of course. So I think that is the main saving grace to the 42, that their championship rivals aren't going to get a first or second place today.
Which is what they need. If they're further back than that, it doesn't actually matter where 42 finishes. They are that far ahead already that they would retain the advantage. Dawson, to his credit, though, undeterred, is charging back on again and comes up behind Darren Leung. Now, let's see how this battle pans out over the next couple of laps before they hand over to their pro drivers. Dawson, again, body language still says that he's going for it. He looks quick. His previous lap was a 28.3, so quickest of all of the GT3 cars. It's tank-like, this Mercedes. No matter how many bits of contact it has, the pace is still there.
Yeah, and wipers on again, and a big bit of oversteer again for this car. Looking to the inside into the final corner, Darren closes the door in front of him. Darren would have been told by the team the amount of penalties, 30 seconds now for the 42 car. So if you're losing a lot of time in the Aston, which streaks away down the straight line, phenomenal straight line performance from that Aston Vantage, and they did get a BOP break after qualifying. The Aston Martin 10 kilos lighter now. The Mercedes, though, so strong on the brake, so strong in high aero corners, as well as we go to the Barwell Lambos. This gap has really dropped, 0.7 of a second now. Martin is coming to some pace, isn't he? Is Collard pushed too hard on the tyres, or is this just a setup thing? Are we going to see the same in the second stint, that the car turns a tyre on well for the one car, but overworks them?
Well, I was very impressed at how quick and how comfortable Rob Collard looked on lap 1 of the race, and then after the safety car, when it was raining, he just seemed to disappear up the road. So maybe a more aggressive setup with that in mind. GT4 pit stops beginning, by the way, because we are now past the 58-minute mark. So the 88 Ginetta was in, so to the number 12 Mercedes. GT3, remember, can't pit for another 2.5 minutes yet, so they'll get probably 2 more laps in, will these two, and can Alex Martin hand his car over as the race leading car? But keeping an eye on the lap times, Joe, and I will say that it does seem to be a constant loss of pace for Collard. He's not had one big moment necessarily, it's just that that car is no longer as quick as the teammate car. GT4 contenders in though, and this is significant, Joe.
Yeah, exactly. Century in first. Optimum there with the fluoro suit. So drivers get out, door closed, fuel starts. Once the fuel finishes, driver change continues and tyres at the same time. So be a race in pit road. Of course, the 71 has compensation time. So expect the 90 car to leave in front of the 71. So then it will be a fight between Jack Brown in the 90 McLaren versus Charlie Robson in the 71 BMW.
Well, when they came in, there was, what, a second in it maybe in the favour of the BMW. So all things being equal, there should be about a 14-second advantage for this car, the number 90, once this pit stop is done. The fuel going in, nothing else can be done to the car whilst the fuel is being put in, and then they will get to work on things like tyre changes, driver changes, etc. This for the race lead, though. They're negotiating Nick Jones's lapped and delayed Porsche. Alex Martin, quite clearly the quicker of these two Lamborghinis at the moment, and he's got at least another lap after this one, I think, to try and make the move on track.
Yeah, Rob Collard has just got no pace whatsoever. Like you said, we've got to do another lap after this one before they can pit. No obvious problems with the number 1 car. It just looks like the pace has gone away from him. He'll be reporting to the team. The team live telemetry can see the pressures diving past the GT4. It's starting to look a bit frantic, isn't it, from Rob Collard?
Yeah, it is. This is not what we expected to see. He'll be quite grateful, I think, to see the end of this stint. Martin maybe quicker, but overtaking opportunities in a GT3 car are limited somewhat. This is one of the easier circuits on which to overtake because you've got those big braking zones at the end of the lap, but difficult sometimes to follow through the high-speed stuff. The Century pit stop is, to all intents and purposes, done. They're now just waiting for the minimum pit stop time plus the 15-second compensation time to tick down. There's a little bit of work being done still, cleaning the windscreen on the 90 car. These are the little things that, if you are a slick operation, which Optimum and Century Motorsport both are, you have time to do. Charles Dawson on the curb on the outside of Redgate Corner, going for 3rd place, getting 3rd place. Say what you like about Charles Dawson, but at no point in this first hour has he ever settled for anything.
What has he had for breakfast? I'm going to suspect it's not legal because he is fired up. And there is the 90 car leaving early. The 71 BMW should leave 14 seconds after, shouldn't it? Mahiki Ginetta, has that got a problem at the end of pit lane? The 88 car being pushed out the way. 71 gets re-going. Brand new tyres for Robson. You can see the stickers on the rear. So they've saved a set. That should be worth 5 or 6 seconds for Charlie Robinson. I didn't see Optimum tyres. So maybe they're on the same strategy, but good move from Century there. As we see Tilbrook off, that's going to be a full course yellow. Are they going to wait for the pit window? That car properly beached on the entry to McLean's. Did he get there by himself? That's an odd place to go off.
Yeah, the entrance to McLean's. There is that left-hand kink at Schwantz where you're braking on a turn into the corner. That can catch drivers out, but Morgan Tilbrook these days a very, very highly regarded AM driver, and I find it hard to believe he would have done that. We'll wait and see. That, though, surely is championship over for them. The 88 car being recovered, and Barwell jump to the pit lane. So numbers 1 and 78. There is 10 seconds extra to be served for the number 1 car because they were on the podium last time at Brands Hatch. There are 30 extra seconds to be served for the car that just came in at the top of the shot, though. The championship leader, Charles Dawson's dramatic stint is done.
Yeah, like buses, aren't they? Lamborghinis for Barwell. Waiting all race, and then suddenly 2 pop up and so is Dawson, trying to get him out the car. That's a slow engine turn off there. That's strange. Still got the ignition on as well. You see the lights and windscreen wipers still going. Door closed. Fueling will start. Needs to be behind the line. Drivers getting pulled out the way by the mechanics quite rightly. Rob Collard there to the right of your shot, looking pretty tense with that. Hugo Cook will be looking to get in the car. Quick pat on the back. Well done. All good. But has that car got a problem as it goes long in a stint?
Andrew Howard in as well in the Beach Dean Aston Martin. Pit lane suddenly busier than the racetrack with still a smattering of GT4 cars. The 69 Ginetta that was leading earlier on in GT4, remember, that's now in serving its pit stop as well. We haven't yet had Harry George in. The Silver Cup GT4 teams have a bit more tactical freedom, don't they? Because they don't necessarily have a rush to get a pro driver in. Morgan Tilbrook still in this McLaren, which is at the side of the road. It'll be covered by yellow flags, but I'm sure he'd quite like to get out of there as quickly as possible or see the race interrupted altogether. But race control will be keen not to have too much of an influence on what happens during these pit stops.
It is so scary being sat there under a local yellow. If you've ever stopped on a hard shoulder of a motorway and it feels scary as a lorry comes past at 56, try a GT3 car coming past at 140 miles an hour, fully out of control. There's the pit stop penalty difference. This should go well in the favour of the 78 now with Sandy Mitchell versus Hugo Cook. They've pushed it back. It's still quite a tight exit, isn't it? It does get going. The one car should be going in the next 10 seconds.
Would it have made more sense maybe to park 78 in front of the number one? Who knows? Let's hope that they factored that pullback time into their minimum pit stop time. Back out they go. Not convinced that's 10 seconds between the two of them. We'll get a look at it at the end of the lap. That is the 18 Mercedes coming through, and that is still being driven by Kevin Say, so they've not pitted 18. Darren Leung leads the race. Giacomo Petrobelli is second, and Kevin Say is third. I suspect, Joe, those three staying out in the hope that we got a full course yellow or a safety car, but that doesn't look likely.
Yeah, either that or 2Cs didn't want to stack their cars, and they gave priority, quite rightly, to championship leader, who is now behind Matt Griffin. Matt, a wily old fox. He won't like me calling him old, but he's much older than me, and he will have his elbows out, and he won't want to let this 42 car past, potentially. So still not championship done. We've seen an aggressive stint from Dawson, and we're going to see the same from Kieran Jewiss. So here's what happens to Tilbrook. He's just caught out by the very slow GT4 Jolt car. He tried to get out of the way, and it was just a miscommunication. I'm pretty sure the Jolt car was on the right-hand side of the track trying to give the racing line to Tilbrook. Tilbrook avoided contact with the Jolt car, but jolted himself off into the gravel.
So that's championship done, I'm afraid, for Optimum, at least in GT3. Of course, they now have the advantage in GT4, courtesy of the quicker pit stop for the number 90 car. We'll wait till everyone's pitted and then give you a proper rundown of the order. Yeah, that is a real shame for Morgan Tilbrook and Marvin Kirchhoffer, who have been great additions to the championship this year. Still waiting for a few more pit stops to happen, and whilst that's going on, we've actually got a really good battle for the lead between the two Blackthorn Aston Martin teammates, Darren Leung and Giacomo Petrobelli, nose to tail at the head of the field. That 18 car is in third, that's Kevin Say, and then the highest placed of those two are pitted is the number 78 car of Barwell Motorsport. This is the lead battle then, and what a roller coaster stint this has been for Petrobelli. I mean, he started mid-grid, gained some early ground, had the collision with Dawson, dropped back, and now here he is fighting for the race lead. I know it's a little artificial because he owed us a pit stop, but Petrobelli, a bit like when we last raced at Donington Park, has been in the wars.
Really hasn't. No team orders whatsoever for Blackthorn cars. Looking phenomenally good, I have to say. And the slight difference in the colours makes it easy for me to spot. And Petrobelli all over the back and has lost a load of time in the dirt. Yeah, I don't know why they're not pitting. They can only be waiting for the full course yellow, which is obviously not going to happen. Peter Daly deciding to leave it green until the pit stops are done. Maybe it's for weather. I can't see anything rolling through that's worth that. But both of these cars running longer with their AM. Every time the AM does an extra lap over the Pro, that's 2 seconds or so gone forever. And interesting call, as Darren's definitely staying out for another lap. What about the 7 car of Petrobelli? Another lap as well. Very fuel efficient for these Aston Martins.
Bryn Lucas just sent me a screenshot of his particular weather radar, and it does show rain heading our way from Redgate. You can see the black clouds in the sky. The camera brightens the sky considerably, let me tell you. They are the black clouds I'm seeing coming, but when will it get here? What you're saying, Joe, I presume, is that Blackthorn will wait, hopefully, for it to rain. They'll come in for wet tyres. Everyone will have to pit anyway, and they might gain an advantage out of it, but I'm just not convinced the rain's going to get here in time.
And the time they're losing every lap, like I'm saying, they're going to have done 4 extra laps. That's 8 seconds. To do tyres, probably only costing you 30. So we're getting to a point where even if it does rain, you've lost the advantage anyway, and the teammates are falling over each other. It's getting pretty messy for Blackthorn.
It is a little bit, isn't it? Well, this is an interesting battle. Is that Darren Leung getting out of the way of Petrobelli? It might be. Giacomo's got the run anyway. He's got the inside line, and he's now got the race lead. So that looked a little bit orchestrated to me, or unless it was a mistake or an issue for Darren Leung. If it was, he's straight back on the pace now. So I think he just decided, you know what, I'm not going to impede my championship contending teammate too much. And they're possibly coming into the pit lane this time anyway. So into the lead of the race goes Giacomo Petrobelli. Both of these cars owing us a pit stop. And Darren Leung doing the gentlemanly thing, it would seem.
Yeah, just rolling out the throttle, no longer a thorn in the side of Giacomo Petrobelli in this Blackthorn car. And they both box really aggressive from Petrobelli, swinging out. Pit lane limit starts now, 40k, and they're early in pit lane, maybe just swapping so they're in their right boxes more than anything else. So Blackthorn finally in, but that has been a strategy for me that's not worked out.
It's a 70-minute maximum stint length as well, remember, and they were only about 50 seconds inside of that, so they had to pit that time. They could not have done another lap. So this will promote the number 78 machine now into the lead of the race. So Sandy Mitchell, there he is, will, when all of this is shaken out, have the race lead by 8.7 seconds currently over Hugo Cook, and that gap actually going out on the previous lap. So I'm not convinced that they had the speediest of pit stops in the 78. They should possibly have been further ahead than that. It might matter little though if this full course yellow, as we suspect it is incoming, then it might all get bunched back together anyway. For now though, he will enjoy a pretty healthy lead over his teammate, with Matt Topham still showing in the 67 car in third. That has pitted though, and so it should now be Marcus Clutton at the wheel of the 67 McLaren, which I think will inherit a podium place.
Yeah, Clutton definitely in the car based on the pace that car's doing as well right now. So Clutton was quick this morning in warm-up, fastest out of everyone. Sandy Mitchell firing it in hard there. Was that a mistake or was that rain affected? Came in way too hot, missed the second apex as well. As we see those clouds looming. The amateurs had to deal with it. The pros should have to deal with it to make it fair. Blackthorn still waiting to finish their pit stops. 115 seconds their cars have to be in pit lane for. Now they are released. Johnny Adam is going down. There's our new race leader. The pit leader has had to relinquish us. There's Hugo Cook. There's Marcus Clutton. So we're going to slot into 4th place, I think, aren't we, for Johnny Adam in the 7 car.
Yep, Johnny Adam, who has won British GT Championships before, having come to the decider quite considerably behind. He has 3 times actually overturned a deficit going into the last round to win a championship, most recently in 2019, which was a particularly dramatic decider, I seem to recall. The biggest deficit that he's ever overturned, though, was only 11 points back in 2016. He was rather further back than that. This is the 22 car coming out in front of or behind to C's, just Joe behind it.
That was a shame, wasn't it, for Petrobelli to not be able to use that. And then the other 2 C cars now of Maximilian Gotts goes up the inside. Matt Griffin has lost a place to there, but more rain falling through the craners. And the drivers, you can see on the windscreen now, Nick Yellerly taking over from Darren Lund with that rain. This is his outlap. This is not what you want as a driver. Nick doesn't know the Aston Martin particularly well. Spoke to him earlier. Really likes the car, though. This is getting heavy. Again, traction control will be cranked up. Matt Griffin, knowing the conditions slightly better on the front foot in that 55.296 Ferrari.
That looked the heaviest that we've seen the rain so far, and this is up at McLean's corner where it looks particularly treacherous. Up into Coppice they head, and Nick Yellerly trying to keep the Matt Griffin Ferrari at bay. Out onto the exhibition straight they head. Headlights ablaze, windscreen wipers are working hard, and the rain most definitely falling. Marcus Clutton, by the way, had just set the fastest lap of the race. I suspect his next lap is going to be quite a bit slower than that, as the conditions, not for the first time this afternoon, start to deteriorate. Kian Jewiss, though, at the front of this group, and the best thing he can see in his mirrors, Joe, is a teammate, isn't it?
It really is, and of course these teams still use tyre ovens, so they're allowed to be up to temperature, like some other inferior GT championships don't allow the tyre warming anymore. They still are allowed here, so the drivers at least have hot, sticky tyres underneath them, but they will be starting to lose temperature. One, because of the damp surface, but also the energy's not in the car, because the lap times are starting to ever so slightly drop off, and we're going to go full course yellow to finally get that Morgan Tilbrook car. Now all the pit stops have been done. We can go to this full course yellow, and it's going to neutralise everyone. Will this go to a safety car? If the recovery goes well, I would say not, but we saw a recovery not go well earlier on, didn't we? Which then led us into a safety car.
Yeah, I suspect the intention is to not go safety car, but we'll have to wait and see how long this takes. It's in a slightly precarious position, but I think they will have a live snatch vehicle up at McLean's, which they can use to get that 77 McLaren out of harm's way. So, Sandy Mitchell, your race leader then, in the number 78 Barbell Motorsport Lamborghini. There is the recovery operation beginning at the McLean's corner. Hugo Cook in second. He'll be praying for a safety car to try and bridge that 9-second deficit that he's got at the moment to his teammate. And the charging Marcus Clutton in third position in the non-point scoring number 67 car. In GT4, meanwhile, Optimum Motorsport, they have found themselves in the lead of the class by the looks of it. And after the driver change to put Jack Brown in the car, yes, they are ahead. They're ahead in the race. They're ahead in the championship, and they are actually considerably up the road from the Charlie Robertson BMW. They've got 2 cars between them and the Century Motorsport BMW. Century, another team, I think, here, who are desperately hoping for a safety car.
Yeah, they really need it. What was the stat you told me about Century and new BMWs?
Yes, so every time that they have brought a new generation of the BMW M4 GT4 model into British GT, they did that in 2018, 2021 and 2023, they have won the championship that year. Well, they brought this Evolution BMW in this year, and might that run come to an end? There's a lot to play out still, though, before we crown any champions, Joe. I would not count them out.
No. And amazing stat, amazingly geeky. I love it. So kudos to your research there, Andy. And good advert for JCB, isn't it? Theirs is much better pulling cars out than the Green Manitou, it would seem. And the 77 going behind the barrier, and that is day done. And Morgan Tilbrook, I don't think will be a happy man. 1, for the mistake, but 2, sat in that car for a long, long time. With cars racing past in damp conditions, that would have been a scary existence.
Certainly would have caught his attention, wouldn't it? So the car gets unceremoniously dragged out of the gravel trap. It should fairly quickly be out of the way, so I'm hopeful that we won't need a safety car period at the end of this. Hopefully the tyres haven't lost too much tyre temperature. We are hearing that the intention is, as soon as this car is out of harm's way, we'll go back to green flag running. This looks fairly tasty, though, doesn't it? Upon the resumption of racing, we've got the 2Cs Motorsport Mercedes, the second of the Blackthorn Aston Martins, and that Spirit of Race Ferrari having one of its best showings of the year so far. You mentioned Matt Griffin and all of the experience he's had, and he could well get himself properly stuck into this battle. There's the GT3 standings as it stands. With the 42 car comfortably on course for the championship. Second place, though, that is up for debate, isn't it? Hugo Cook is only, 5.5 points adrift now of the now Johnny Adam-driven Aston Martin for second position. Well, Hugo Cook came into this weekend 5th in points, and if he could find a way past Sandy Mitchell, he would be maybe in a position to gain that championship position. Now, we've gone back racing again, and it looked as though maybe some were a little bit quicker to react than others, Joe.
Yeah, Griffin got past Nick Yelly that we're on board now. Was that slow from Nick? Was that the team not communicating? There's a few ways as a driver, you know it's going back to green. You get the short warning, 10 seconds. You're then looking at the driver display in the car that's saying ready right now. You're looking at marshals. You're looking at the light panels. You're listening to your radio, but it seemed like AF Course got the jump on platform there, and Griffin saw the door open and slithering past.
Yes, he did. So Griffin then picks up a position. I said he might insert himself into this battle, and that's exactly what he's done. And now he'll set off after Maximilian Gertz and Kian Jewiss ahead. Jewiss then 6th position. That is enough, regardless of who wins the race, for the 42 team to pick up the championship victory. So windscreen wipers still going. Not a huge amount of rain falling. Very late on the brakes for Nick Yellerly into the Melbourne hairpin. And, well, he will be watching with interest to see what Matt Griffin does now and whether or not he is able to take advantage. Right, Joe, we're about to get a replay, I believe, of that restart. What's your judgment on this?
So there's the full course yellow. Let's see when we get off the limiter. We're at 80 at the moment. See Griffin in our rear view. Green, and we're just slightly late to it. I don't know if that's Nick not being used to the car, not knowing the full course yellow, maybe has a bit of lag to it. Maybe he's pressed the button, then it releases. Maybe he was high in the rev range of first gear and ever so slightly kissed the limiter. But I think it was just a very good restart from Griffin, and I was worried maybe Matt had jumped it, but that doesn't seem to be the case, and it was a fair overtake from that 55 car.
So the 55 car now into 8th position overall. Maxi Gertz ahead, and this will be, well, Matt Griffin will be relishing this opportunity to go up against the likes of Nick Yellerly and Maxi Gertz and prove that he is still every bit as quick as these pro drivers around him. Kian Jewiss not massively stretching away at the front of this group, but really just looking to settle the ship, isn't he, and just not have any drama in this second half of the race. But with this rain just coming and going, it seems a bit heavier now than it has been, then that is going to be a tough ask, isn't it, to stay completely out of trouble for the remaining 41 minutes.
I think turn 1 in the next lap or two is going to be a different game for these drivers. Looking out of our commentary box window, we're sat on the entry to turn 1. It is dark, it is gloomy, it is looking like it is ready to chuck a load of rain down starting at turn 1.
Yep, you can see how much darker it looks here at Goddard. There's definitely rain falling here, but so far, at least in this portion of the race, it doesn't seem to be limiting the grip too much, does it? This is the part of the circuit Joe was concerned about, though, as we head down into Redgate Corner, where we had complete calamity a year or so ago when the heavens opened. No such dramas for the time being. Kian Jewiss, though, at the front of that group, of course, is the first one in that group to discover what the conditions are. It's a tricky position to be in. Race leader then, Sandy Mitchell. Joe's confident pick for the race victory. Well, so far, you'd have to say it's hard to disagree with that. He's negotiating the traffic well. He's maintaining this 9-second or so cushion back to his teammate Hugo Cook. And Sandy Mitchell, if you give him this sort of advantage in this car on a track which he loves, he is a tough man to beat.
Really is, isn't he? He's calculated with the traffic is our young Sandy. He's aggressive, but not in an overconfident way. He's always just telling the GT4, I'm coming past, rather than it being a bit of a desperate lunge, and he's cleared those cars rather efficiently to minimise the time lost. His last Sector 1 on his previous lap was the fastest Sector 1 of the race for that car, so the weather obviously not coming in just yet, but what can Hugo Cook do about it? Now 7.9, he gained 2 seconds on the last lap, got to get past Robertson in the GT4 car. Robertson at the moment unable to do anything pace-wise to go forwards. He needs to try and pick the pace up to get closer to Luca Hopkinson in the sister Optimum car, to our current champion-elect. And Hugo losing a bit of time there, a bit of debris getting flicked up and going round the outside of the Jolt McLaren, now driven by Ingram.
Yeah, Charlie Robertson, you mentioned his lap time last time by was almost identical to that of Jack Brown up the road, but remember, he's got the best part of 15 seconds to try and bridge in order to get back on terms with the car that he must beat if Century are going to win the GT4 Championship. Right, Bryn is reporting rain in the pit lane. I don't think he's the only person here at Donington Park who'll be reporting rain at the moment. It looks very, very sketchy down the exhibition straight as Charlie Robertson nips to the inside of the lapped Jolt McLarens. That wasn't for position, but you can see the rain coming in. That's heavier than I've seen for a while, Joe. This is starting to get a little bit treacherous.
Yeah, curbs will getting slicker and slicker as Hopkinson cuts off the nose of Hugo Cook. Look how wet it is there. That's suddenly transformed. Lap times are going to fall 10, 12 seconds a lap slower. And if Bryn is able to feel the rain on his scalp through that heavily gelled hair, imagine how slippy it is for all of these drivers out there.
Yeah, this is going to be a real leap of faith now into Redgate Corner this time around. The race leaders have already come across the line. Race leader Sandy Mitchell, 11.5 seconds up the road now. What can Hugo Cook manage through the first corner? All looks okay for the time being. 2C's teammates, meanwhile, at play here. Maxi Gertz to the inside of Kian Jewiss, who is late on the brakes into Melbourne, doesn't really make friends with the apex, but he'll carry good speed off the turn and keeps his teammate behind. I suggested earlier on they'd work together, but if Gertz feels he's much quicker, then he's sort of obliged to have a go, isn't he?
This is a completely different season, isn't it, in this race now? And Griffin's experience coming forward as well. Dawson, after one of the most aggressive stints I've ever seen, pensively biting his fingernails. What can his teammate do against the hugely experienced Maxi Gertz? Jewiss has had a real standout performance year for me. He's been phenomenally quick, but he doesn't have the experience of the cars behind him, be it Gertz, be it Yellerly, or be it Matt Griffin.
Well, Kian Jewiss' last lap was 9 seconds off that car's best. There are wet tyres being fitted, look, to the number 12 Mercedes. That is a car that had lost a bit of ground anyway, so might as well roll the dice and hope for the best. Someone's wide. That was Matt Griffin wide over the exit curb at the old hairpin, and that's not where you want to be wandering on slick tyres. The wet painted curbs are lethal. It is properly wet now up at the top end of the circuit, and Nick Yellerly tries to take advantage here. He's on the wider line in, looks looks for the tight line out, can't get the power down though, and Matt Griffin hangs on.
This is getting slippy, and Donington Park is just slippy. Look at that weather radar. We're on that pin drop. It's all around us. It's encompassing us, isn't it? It's going to get us. When's it going to get here? How heavy? That's the 2Cs garage. They'll be relaying that information to their drivers. Which directions are rain coming? What's the severity? But this is huge stakes now for everyone out there. They've got to push. Too hard, you're going to go off.
The race leader, Sandy Mitchell, does a 1:40. That's 13 seconds off the pace. We're on board now with Kian Jewiss down into the Melbourne hairpin, and this will give us a really good idea of just how tricky the conditions are. He's under attack as well, Joe.
Yeah, because he got trying to go around the outside, just caught him in the mirror. We're tiptoeing here. It's so slippy. It's like on a bathroom floor when you get out of the shower, but you're wearing high heels that are covered in olive oil. He's trying to get the grip. He's lobbing the lock on. He's just trying to feel it. It's a good technique now to turn into the corner aggressively, break the front traction. We're making an adjustment on the center console there, and imagine that's a throttle map, trying to smooth out the throttle pickup so it's not as aggressive. That Mercedes V8 has got so much torque. Gert's trying to get to the inside, but there won't be much grip there. But this is the problem. Someone is going to find the limit and go beyond it.
At what point do you pit though? Because the rain might not be here for long. You might just have to survive it and just hope for the best. If it passes through, you don't want to be on wet because it will probably dry out quite quickly. Whilst this is going on, by the way, in GT4, Charlie Robertson's previous lap was 4 seconds quicker than Jack Brown. All of a sudden, the gap between the two GT4 protagonists is coming down significantly. We'll get to that in a moment, though, as for now we focus on the GT3 championship leader. 35.5 minutes are all that stands between Jewiss and Dawson. The championship, he was well wide of the apex at McLean's, hunting for grip, or was that a mistake?
Yeah, more people coming in for wets. I think we're on 5 cars now that have gone for wet tyres. That will be the indication. It's getting to a point where it's going to stay wet enough for long enough now where I would be boxing in the next couple of laps for wets, even if it's not a decision as a high-risk call, because someone is going to go off. Hugo Cook stays out. Everyone's staying out at the moment, but one car to go off. Maybe that will be why they will box.
And your decision will be different depending on whether you're fighting for a championship or not. Some have more to lose, much more to lose than others. Hugo Cook there slips wide out of Redgate Corner as he puts a lap on the Honda. Marcus Clutton has been relishing these conditions, a man who's done most of his early racing up at Alton Park, where these sort of conditions are par for the course, knows his way around a damp and greasy racetrack, and he is now starting to take some big chunks of time out of Hugo Cook ahead. Martin Plowman, by the way, has overtaken Johnny Adam on the previous lap for 4th position. Plowman, that car, the Paddock Motorsport McLaren, was really quick in very similar conditions to these in pre-qualifying yesterday.
Yeah, maybe has a softer base setup in that car, so able to put the power and the traction down. That's why you see these cars squirm as Clutton is closing in on Cook at an alarming rate right now. Clutton so aggressive in every walk of life. This seems to be working for him. He's working the tyres super well, and I mean, this is a nice summer's day in Cheshire, isn't it? So that's why he's used to it, and he's doing well. But Hugo Cook, also from that region, doesn't seem to be able to get the same performance out of this #1 Barwell Lambo.
There are currently about 18 cars circulating. 17 of those drivers will be complaining about the conditions. One of them I don't think is, and that one is Sandy Mitchell, who is 18 seconds now up the road from Hugo Cook. His lap times, Joe, are on a different planet. It's like he's on wet tyres. We know he isn't, but he's about 3 or 4 seconds a lap quicker than anybody else.
Sam Neary is on wet in that ABBA Mercedes. That's why he's cruising past Clutton. Clutton will realise that and just use him as a gauge, and you'll see there's your illustration of grip. That, oh my God, black and green Mercedes on wet tyres versus slicks. You'll see the extra grip he's got, and that's the decision the teams need to make. I think Neary will be able to go all the way around the outside here. He's looked at Cook more than I've ever looked at my wife. He knows he's cleared, and now he's through. And as a quick guide, if the tyre wall has any yellow on it, it's a slick. If it's all black, it's a wet. Neary, definitely a huge snap for Cook. That's at 120 miles an hour. These guys are driving phenomenally well, but I just think it's a matter of time till someone lobs it.
Yeah, this is getting really sketchy. It's a waiting game. There's brighter skies on the horizon, Joe. I take your point that it will take a while to dry out fully, but it's not fully wet at the moment. I mean, that being said, I'm glad I'm not out there. Hugo Cook's car absolutely fishtailing around, as here is Charlie Robertson. He's been a man on a mission in these conditions. He's battling now with the second of the Optimum Motorsport McLarens right round the outside of the old hairpin. That is uber brave. There's a bit of paint traded. He's sideways sideways up the curb, but Charlie Robertson keeps on coming. This is his one and only opportunity to get that car back in contention, but Joey's got to keep it on the road.
The spray coming out of these slicks shows how little grip there is. There must be close to aquaplaning in places. Luke Hopkinson unwinding the lock, easing Charlie Robertson onto the slippery exit curb at the old hairpin. He's playing for his own game, but he's also playing for the option game. Needs the door open now. Robertson sent it to the inside. This is getting desperate. Robertson's got nothing to lose. If he wants the championship, he's got to make this move.
He was quicker than Jack Brown again on the previous lap, but of course every lap that the 17 car keeps the BMW behind, it gives an extra bit of buffer to their teammate Jack Brown, who is currently in a position to win the championship in car number 90. Through the chicane we go. Scrappier line there, I would say, from the McLaren as Hopkinson tries and tries and tries to keep the 71 car behind. They've got the GT3 paddock McLaren closing in as well, as Robertson once again goes to the inside. And well, in the end, Joe, it looked as though the door was left wide open for him.
Yeah, Ravi happy with that one, and now what can he do? Sam Neary says on wets he's 10 seconds a lap faster. After 4 laps, you've got your time back for being on wets. No one's been brave enough to do it, apart from the Nearys in the Abacar, but they're out the running. I'm amazed none of the front runners have done it. It's a huge snap of oversteer now for Hopkinson, and it's back to Robertson. This is great racing, clean so far.
Looks as though maybe the rain is easing slightly, he says, trying to look on the positive here. To the outside goes Plowman. Is Hopkinson going to have another nibble at the BMW? Not quite, but it's very close indeed. And oh yeah, I don't think he did know that Plowman was there, did he? And it was a slow run for Robertson, weirdly.
Yeah, and again, the track just changing every time. And every time this car has a little slide, you are beyond the edge of grip. And that's what Robertson's done 3-4 times through Craner curves. And now Hopkinson is in the advantage. He can follow as he has a huge snap. And Plowman's not being able to get past them now for 5 corners because these cars are so sideways, they're blocking the track.
I don't think he dares go for it, does he? And of course, they're all trying to find the grippier side of the road. He's on the outside now into McLean's. Look at them, nowhere near the apex, but that is where the grip generally is in the wet conditions. Finally, Plowman gets past the McLaren and now sets off after Charlie Robertson. So Robertson then gains another position. He is about 10.5 seconds or so behind Jack Brown, but Brown has been caught now by the number 69 Ginetta. Remember that car that led, dominated in the early part of the race. That is going to be a fascinating battle as Blake Anglis closes in on Jack Brown for the lead in GT4. Less than a second between those two last time by.
Sandy Mitchell overtaken by the wet shod Abbott Mercedes. Again, an illustration of the wet tyre being the tyre to be on right now. Still half an hour to go. It could flow back the other way, but again, the rain could come in again as well.
Clutton is in. Marcus Clutton has pitted from 3rd position. Now, he was one of the quicker drivers in these conditions. Has that team decided to go for wet tyres? Let's find out. Yep, they are wet Pirelli tyres waiting. That is a bold call.
Too late. What's the point now? You've made your decision, but you're not going to get the benefit from it. So that's a really half-baked strategy, in my opinion. And pitting from a podium position, I think they're going to drop somewhere to 8th or 9th place.
And they're not the only ones either. Plowman's in and Johnny Adams in. So all of a sudden, it's like the team suddenly woke up to what we were seeing 3 laps ago, and that Sam Neary was overtaking them all in the Team Abbott Mercedes. But as you said, they've missed out, especially with these. I can see blue sky in the distance now, in the direction from which the weather has been coming. Who knows? They might know something we don't, but right now it looks as though those who have chosen to weather the storm, so to speak, should be the ones with the advantage.
Yeah, and a quick pit stop from Blackthorn has blocked Plowman in there. That's frustrating there, but that pit stop was done as fast as they can, and that's different. And actually, Plowman's still trying to get out in front, and the car controller there maybe a bit conservative and should have released that car sooner.
So Sam Neary goes through his last lap of 135.9, the leader of 44.4. So in fact, a 45.4 that time by. So Neary still taking about 10 seconds a lap out of the leader. But how long will the conditions stay like this? The 2 C's cars, meanwhile, still locked together. In fact, this whole group looks exactly how they did 10 minutes ago when we last saw them with the approaching 67 car behind. Remember, that car now on wet tyres, and when it catches these 4, it will be 4 position.
Yeah, the thing here is that it's a new wet tyre this year. Huge snap of ownership for all of them. Well done. And that was phenomenal. And Clutton on the wets, again, an illustration of the grip. He's going to scythe past Nick Yellerly, then get past Griffin. 2 cars in one move. Is he going to get the benefit of pitting all the way to the end? The good thing is this new Pirelli wet is a much more intermediate tyre. There's more rubber, there's more surface area than the previous almost monsoon tyres. I think Clutton touched a white line under braking there, and there was almost a Scandinavian flick as he now gets past Maximilian Goertz, and probably is going to get past the 42 car Jewiss as well on the exit of Redgate.
He's a minute behind the race leader, but we know that a wet tyre at the moment is capable of being 10 seconds a lap quicker than a slick, so sort of you could say in 6 or 7 laps he'd catch the leader, but the conditions aren't static. That's the problem. They're changing lap by lap. 1 lap it's wetter, 1 lap it's drier, 1 lap it favours the wet tyres, and 1 lap it seems to favour the slicks. Remember, both of these cars are still on slick tyres. Yes, they're teammates. Yes, the 18 to some extent will try and protect the 42, but when Jewiss's car is snapping around all over the place, Maxi Goertz probably just wants to try and get out of there.
Even more frustrating that Clutton or someone at the front end didn't come in for wets, and we were saying 3-4 laps ago, but easy to call from our very dry commentary box, I will add to that. But this is the battle that rages on. Jewiss, I feel like, is getting team orders from Goertz. I think Goertz could have got past if he wanted to. Let's see if that stays true. Griffin doesn't care about that, of course. The 17 car there of Hopkinson has got back past Charlie Robinson. We haven't seen that, but it's got past, so I'd assume that's a mistake from Robinson, because this car didn't have the pace. A few laps ago, it's going to go through the gravel. Keep it pinned now, and actually you won't lose too much time. Get over to the right, block the run from Robinson, but showing you the conditions not easy, and you've got 4 GT3 cars about to attack you.
Oh, this could get very lively indeed into the Melbourne hairpin. The GT4 cars go side by side, and Kieran Jewiss has nowhere to go. He just sort of parks on the apex, hopes for the best. Bit of a fishtail coming out of the corner, and he will now flash the lights and get through on the inside line. Yeah, Robinson's last lap was about a second off the pace, so maybe a moment, maybe he was delayed by a GT3 car coming through. It's a real traffic jam at the final corner, and again, every single one of these little moments where they're boxed in amongst the GT4 cars could spell disaster for any one of these cars, including the championship leaders.
Yeah, Nick Yellerly in the Aston Martin with the world's hardest working windscreen wiper. I think it's just not turning off, but that thing has been flat out. Hopkinson getting out the way well, but that's going to give Robinson a run potentially. And now we've got back past Griffin for Yellerly there. Griffin getting held up by the GT4 cars. The track is suddenly drying quickly, isn't it? Race leader back down to 42, so 3 seconds quicker than they were. The delta to wet tyre from the slick now only 7. This is going away from the wet tyres, especially Clutton, who is back up to 3rd.
And if it doesn't rain again, that's only going to get worse, isn't it? Oh, Jewiss is late on the brakes. He's too late on the brakes. Barely keeps it within the white lines, and finally relinquishes that position to his teammate, but that could have been an awful lot worse. I really thought, Joe, that car was destined for the gravel trap.
Oh, contact there. Yellerly into the back of him. Jewiss just didn't seem to accelerate. Caught Yellerly out. Contact. Both survived. I was amazed Yellerly didn't send it to the inside. He had so much speed. And remember, this is Blackthorn, our other championship protagonist, against 2Cs. His team order is going to come into it. Yellerly is going to get real close to the back again in this Aston. They both slide. Bigger slide for Jewiss, but gets the traction. This is getting tight.
Yes, it's getting very tight. You feel certain, surely, that Yellerly will try and have a go here into the Melbourne hairpin, but Jewiss is late on the brakes, runs wide, but is that his preferred line? He turns into the late apex, there's an Aston Martin there, and in fairness to Nick Yellerly, he could have made a lot more of a nuisance of himself there than he did. I think he backed out of that.
I would have turned Jewiss around. Jewiss was unaware. We were at the apex, the car riding on board. Jewiss just cut the nose of this Aston Martin. I would have turned him off and given him a little smile out the window. Here's the contact, and it just looked like Jewiss just slowed down more than Yellerly was suspected, and bang into the rear, and then gave the big slide to Jewiss, who managed to hang on, but Yellerly is now on the front foot.
How many moments have there been in this race where that 42 cars race could have easily ended? That's about the 5th bit of contact they've had, and we are still 23.5 minutes away from the checkered flag. They are, though, still in a championship winning position. That is crucial, and actually they could lose a couple more positions and still be in a championship winning position, because neither of their big championship rivals look likely to score big. Remember, Johnny Adam has pitted. He's on wet tyres, but he's only going a few seconds a lap quicker than the race leader now, down in 11th position, so out of the points for Johnny at the moment, albeit with a couple of non-scoring cars ahead. So, yeah, he's in the points, but needs to be winning the race, and that just doesn't look likely unless we get another significant change in the conditions. Nick Yellerly closes in again through Coppice. This is where I think that Aston Martin looks the stronger of the two.
Yeah, then just goes away, doesn't it? Sector 2 is really in the favour of this car, and then Sector 3 seems to go back to the blue Mercedes in front. Is that the track conditions? Is the Aston better? As we have a huge wiggle, we're going to get a run here. Come on, Nick, get it sent. He tries to send it. He heard me. I G'd him up too much, and that sent him wide. And again, you can see the conditions very variable, and that's the worst thing as a driver.
Yeah, you just don't know what you're faced with from corner to corner, do you? Sam Neary, by the way, is catching this group, actually still to the tune of 7 seconds a lap. He is quicker than that group of cars that we've been focusing on. Remember,
Car 9,
he too.
drive-through penalty for an unsafe release. Car 9, drive-through penalty, unsafe release.
Yeah, Sam Neary too on those wet tyres. I was going to say that is notification that the Paddock Motorsport McLaren will be given a drive-through penalty. We saw that happen, Joe. It was very touch and go, and race control have decided it's worthy of a penalty.
Yeah, frustrating for them. Drive-through penalty here at Donington, 23 seconds. So that's going to really rule them out of a decent result today.
That is a big shame, isn't it? So the Paddock car, which had its sort of starring moments of glory, and then unfortunately will fade out of contention again. This is a replay through the chicane. Look at Jewiss, misses the first apex, doesn't take anything like as much curb as Yellerly, but by the end of the chicane, Joe, they both had a moment.
Yeah, Yellerly's about to have a huge snap of oversteer. Now look at that, his hand well over 90 degrees and slow-mo working overtime there to show you the energy involved in these cars. Great to watch it live on board, then to get it back in slow-mo to show the drama is fantastic.
Yeah, brilliant stuff that, and well held from both of them. Nick was heading straight for that tyre stack for a heart-stopping moment, but managed to gather it back together. Wonder how many moments this man has had. We haven't seen a lot of Sandy Mitchell since he jumped in the car. Remember, when he got in this car, he was, what, 7-8 seconds ahead of his teammate Hugo Cook. Well, he's now 23 seconds ahead of his teammate Hugo Cook, and he is quite comfortably the fastest car out there. He is going quicker than the cars on wet tyres, and that's the first time we've really seen that for a while. There is one of the cars on wet tyres, Sam Neary, who now is starting to gain places.
Yeah, I think this is the crossover point back to slicks, though. I'm not sure he's going to get past Nick Yellerly because his wets are going off as the slicks get better. There's our GT4 leader. Started the race on pole, led the first part of the race. Been uneventful, hasn't it? Apart from the front left puncher that they got, just about kept on the lead lap. Safety car brought them in. Garlick's pace was strong, and then Blake Anglis has got the job done, is now leading the GT4 class once more as that Paddock car trundles through pit lane. 40k for that unsafe release as they went to wets. They cannot do anything in this, so you would be thinking, why don't they put slicks back on? They're not allowed. They just have to drive through without touching the car. Here was the unsafe release, and the lollipop, the car controller just waited too long, and then Plowman chopping across the front of Johnny Adam there, and that was the penalty.
Yeah, there was a definite hesitation, wasn't there, before releasing the 9 car. Without it, they might have been all right, but anyway, up the inside goes the number 3 McLaren to put a lap on the GT4 leader. GT4 update, by the way, on the previous lap, Jack Brown was a full second slower than Charlie Robertson, who, Joe, is back ahead now in this yo-yo battle of the 17 car, and his teammate is there perhaps to provide some assistance.
Yeah, 14 car being very clean, very sensible, just keeping out of the way. I thought they may be getting some team orders in play, but Templeton there in the 14 black BMW doing well, and now it looks like Hopkinson's the man on the move. It's really musical chairs, isn't it? Neither of them want to stay in this position. They do a lap or two and then swap back round.
We saw this yesterday with the wind. It was just so hard to consistently put lap times together, even over the course of a single lap. We saw big ebbs and flows of gaps as drivers would make mistakes and be caught out by the conditions. Almost the same thing happening now, really. Bottom of your screen, though, that's the key thing. Charlie Robertson is gaining on Jack Brown, whose teammate is almost in the back of the BMW as they get down into the Melbourne hairpin. Robertson is driving a phenomenal stint here to be taking this sort of time still out of Jack Brown whilst always being distracted by Brown's teammate Luca Hopkinson is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and Hopkinson looks fast. Looks like the car's good under braking as well for that white and blue McLaren. Harry George had a phenomenally strong first stint, didn't he? Gave the gap to Luca Hopkinson, who is now finding his feet, finding his pace, and doing doing well. I was involved in their debrief yesterday. They weren't happy after qualifying, but they're pushing hard now, even using the exit curbs, which is starting to offer a bit more grip, even though they look very wet.
Remember, in the GT4 Silver Cup as well, the number 17 McLaren is battling the 14 BMW, which is the car not a million miles behind this particular battle as well, in the hands now of Brandon Templeton. In fact, sorry, Templeton's a lap down, actually. Forgive me, so he's not actually in contention with this battle and is now falling ever further away. So Robertson defending third place in GT4, but more importantly, what is that gap to Jack Brown? It's 6.7 seconds. It came down by another half a second on the previous lap. At this rate, Joe, he might get there.
Yeah, it's going to be nip and tuck as again the race leader laps the GT4s. Feels like that's happened a lot in this race, just where the pit window fell and then the extra GT4 pit stop time. Robertson defending from that ever so slightly. Just say, Mitchell, please don't come past. Please allow me a free run off the chicane. Mitchell, with a 24-second gap, knows he doesn't have to do anything overly risky.
Yeah, slips through on the inside line. He is comfortably ahead of Hugo Cook, who's only now heading out of Coppice Corner. Just to put that into perspective, what a 23-second gap looks like. It was a poor run there through the Melbourne hairpin for Robertson, and that maybe allows Luca Hopkinson a chance to attack into Goddard's, but he wasn't quite close enough. Right, what are the lap times? Jack Brown's gone through a 38.29. That is better, but is Robertson also going quicker? A 38.0. Couple of tenths gained, but not a huge amount, as now Blackthorn take wet tyres back off the number 7 car and refit it with slicks.
Yeah, I said it at the time, didn't I? I thought the strategy was wrong, so I'll stop being negative about life. But yeah, tough day in the office for the 7 car. And interestingly, I think it's going to be close whether Clutton can hang on to the podium position. I think Maxi Gertz may potentially get back up to 3rd because Clutton is still on the wets.
So through all of the drama, it is still a championship heading the way of 2C's Motorsport, but my word, they've not made it easy for themselves, have they? 16.5 minutes away from being crowned champions as their teammates nearly tangle with the Honda up the road. Hugo Cook would currently hang on to 2nd place as well in the GT3 Championship for the time being. Right, we saw Charles Dawson getting properly stuck in his first stint, and now, thanks to Bryn Lucas, we can hear from him.
Charles, can you breathe a massive sigh of relief just now? We've just seen the Aston come in and box back onto slicks. You didn't take the gamble. It was so close, though, wasn't it, that you going onto those wets?
Yeah, well, no one said this was going to be easy, so you know, we haven't crossed the line yet. A long way to go, but no, we were close to going onto wets. But it just stopped raining in time, and yeah, Keane did a mega job keeping on the track. It's really not easy out there. When you've got a championship you're fighting for, and it's those conditions, it's yeah, you've got it's almost doubly hard. So no, he's doing a mega good job, and yeah.
It's breathless out there up and down the order, but for yourself, you had 3 very big moments and a penalty attached to it as well.
Yeah, obviously made a good start, got my head down, and then it started raining, and I think, you know, that I just was being probably a little bit overcautious. At the end of the day, with the Aston, the stewards deemed that no one was at fault, so managed to get going again. And then, yeah, coming through the pack nicely, car felt really good. Look, I've seen my onboard with Morgan. Look, at the end of the day, the stewards decided to give me a penalty, so I'm sorry for Morgan if, you know, but it was tight at the end of the day. Was there enough car? Was there a car width less? It was just, you know, he was on a tighter line, and it's not really what I want to be doing. So yeah, look, at the end of the day, I think we're in P6, and we've got 15 minutes left. So I'm going to go and try and enjoy this with the team.
I imagine the champagne's already been unpacked. The corks haven't quite come off just yet. But what would it mean to you and to Kieran to be the champions this year?
So much. I mean, it's been a tough year. We've had all sorts going on and off the track, and it would mean the world to me. You know, my dad was an avid racer, and sadly he passed last year, so if we managed to seal the deal, doing this for him would be amazing.
99% there.
Yeah, cheers, thank you.
Well, great to hear from Charles Dawson and to hear exactly how much it means to him. And, well, there would have been a few moments in his stint where maybe that was all flashing in front of his eyes, but they have weathered that storm. They're 14 minutes away from maybe lifting the British GT Championship trophy. It's been a dramatic Donington decide. It's absolutely flown by, I have to say. And there could still be more drama on the horizon. There are still dark clouds in the distance, and there is still the potential for things to change, not only in GT3, but definitely in GT4, where that gap between Jack Brown and Charlie Robertson has come down to about 5 seconds now. So whilst GT3 is looking a little bit more secure, and 2Cs Motorsport perhaps can start to dare to think about winning this, in GT4 it's absolutely far from settled. Robertson has distanced himself now from Luca Hopkinson. That's one distraction gone, and he can now start chasing after the leader. I believe, though, we might have missed a little bit of GT4 drama, Joe.
They were closer at this point now, mate. What happens into the Melbourne hairpin then? Both looking okay at the moment. Hopkinson running it tight, then having a huge drift all the way out onto the grass, gets control, but that would have been 2-3 seconds lost, and that's why the gap has now grown to what we can see.
So I said that Robertson had distanced himself from Hopkinson. It was sort of the other way around, wasn't it, really? Hopkinson making a mistake, but either way, the end result is the same. There's a bit of daylight between them now, and Robertson can just focus on hitting his marks and chasing after Jack Brown, who on this lap, though, is responding slightly. We were talking off air, Joe, whilst we were hearing from Charles Dawson about the seeming lack of pace from that number 90 Optimum Motorsport McLaren. Weirdly, as it gets drier, it seems to struggle a little bit more. Maybe Jack Brown's now starting to settle things, but again, he's making this a nervy final run to the flag.
Yeah, it was like it was teasing Robertson, wasn't he? Giving him the eyes across the bar saying, come over. And then when he came over, he punched him in the face. He's now checked out to 5 seconds. He's got Plowman just coming past him in the background. Here he's safe. And I just don't think Jack Brown's bothered by this Ginetta, the race leader, whatsoever. That isn't his focus. Focus is purely on the championship. But Mahiki's focus will be on winning this race. Seb Morris there in the 12 car on the wet tyres. Now a great illustration of why you don't want to be on wets. That is a very expensive German shopping trolley, as the tyre tread now has become like molten lava and it's squidging all over the place, and that looks horrible. And that's what's happening to Marcus Clutton in 3rd overall in this race, and now Maxi Götz just 1.4 seconds behind, so they're going to lose a podium position this lap.
And bear in mind that number 12 Mercedes was one of, if not the first to change to wet tyres, so even coming in right at the start of that sequence hasn't quite worked out for them, has it? But we'll see. Could rain again, you never know. There are still 10 minutes or so of the race to go. There goes Jack Brown then, looking to become the first ever double British GT4 champion. No driver in history has ever won this class twice, partly of course because drivers tend to move on to GT3 after having GT4 success, but Jack Brown at the moment by a single point alongside Mark Warren would be the champion. It is winner takes all between Optimum and Century, but for Robertson to have any chance of taking this championship away, he has to first get there, and that's looking less and less likely by the lap.
It looks so close visually though, because Robertson in shot now. You can see the gap. He's got to get past the Joel car, but it's coming down again, that gap.
Yeah, the middle sector, 1.8 seconds slower for Brown, possibly because of traffic. The gap is 3.4 seconds. And Joe, the closer Robertson gets, the more incentivized he'll be. He'll start to really feel like this could happen. Of course, conversely, the Optimum garage, they're going to see that gap coming down, and I'm sure, Bryn Lucas, they're going to start feeling the pressure.
He's trying to crane himself and look at the TV screen at the moment. 3.3 seconds, the gap, 10 minutes to go. 1 point is all that's in it.
I feel sick as a dog.
You look it as well.
I'll watch it. Yeah, look, I mean, those conditions, and those boys are doing an amazing job out there, aren't they? Because it was really raining hard. So, yeah, great race, great season.
Looking to your driver, Jack, we know he's the reigning champion. He'd be the first 2-time GT4 champion if he does win it. Charlie Robinson is pushing and pushing and pushing.
He is. And we've got, what, 10 minutes, 9 minutes, 8 minutes? I don't know. Yeah, Charlie's pushing really hard. Amazing driving from both of them. So, yeah, fair play, great end.
I don't want to tempt fate or anything like that, but what would it mean to you guys? It sounds like an obvious question, but what would it mean for you? I know what it means for Jack, but for you?
I don't know yet. I'm too tense. I don't know what it will feel like. Let's just see in a few minutes, shall we? Please ask me again in a few minutes' time.
Go and enjoy it, if you can.
He will see that his car is fighting for the lead in class out of absolutely nowhere, Joe. Jack Brown has caught the race leader and is going on the attack into Redgate Corner. But again, is this a fight he needs to be having?
He doesn't, but he has to, because the just has no pace. 2 seconds lost on the last lap, but this is now costing him time, which is letting Robertson get even closer. Look how close Jack Brown is. He's sponsored by Expel. That's the body armour for cars. He needs that because that car is going to get pebble dashed from the Ginetta. The Ginetta looks okay, pace looks okay now. Was it a mistake? Was it the MKH Aston Martin hold up? This is actually what Jack Brown will want. He'll want that Ginetta just to go away. He's an annoying wasp in your very small car. Just get out my way and let me crack on, because I'm still going to be champion, but don't cost me any time. Because you can see Charlie Robinson is in the background. Luca Hopkinson has caught back up as well. There's so many dynamics at play, and this is how a championship should be decided. Whoever finishes in front on track of the last race of the year is champion, and right now, that's the 90 car.
It's remarkable we're even in this position, really. When Ravi Ramyid had his sizable accident at Alton Park in the first race, it was a non-finish. The car was too badly damaged to do race 2, and it really looked as though Optimum had it in the bag. And then that lap 1 incident at Brands Hatch last time turned the GT4 championship on its head, and now Jack Brown somehow has got this car into a championship winning position, but with so many variables, so many things happening around him that are largely out of his control, he's just got to try and keep his cool. He's definitely being held up by this Ginetta, I would say. We'll see what the lap times are this time by. We've got 7.5 minutes of the race still to go. Across the timing line they go. Jack Brown, 136.007. Charlie Robertson, 135.7. 3/10 gain, but he needs more than that, really.
He does, but Brown now running wide. Just Johnny Adam coming back after his 98th pit stop, so that's not a problem. Bit of trim flapping from the front of McLaren. I think that's just the bonnet trim. I don't expect that to be a problem. I'm not sure Jack Brown will even see that, but you could see the tension in Mark Warren's face. He did look ill. I can only liken it to when you're going for a championship, it's the most stressful point of your life. I said on the grid, it's all you think about for the whole build-up to it. My wedding day, it was a breeze. I didn't care at all. My first child being born, didn't care at all. Compared to a championship, this is why racing drivers are a different kind of breed. They're not the nicest humans because they just get hyper-focused, and the focus now is on finishing this race and winning the championship.
Let's hope the wife's not watching at home, Joe, but I take your point, because this is so much time, effort and money goes into this, doesn't it? For it all to boil down, after all of the ups and downs, trials and tribulations, for it to boil down to a 1-point difference inside the final 10 minutes of racing, the tension just starts to hit fever pitch. Good run there for Jack Brown. Is there a defensive move? Yes, there is. So to the outside goes Brown. This is risk versus reward. If he makes this move, you feel sure that the championship will be his, but if it goes wrong, it surely falls in the lap of Century Motorsport. The Ginetta, for now, hangs on.
Mahiki got nothing to lose in the championship. If I was Optimum, I'd be running up to Mahiki, just saying, can we overtake you, and we'll give you the place back at the line. We don't care. We just want to get past you, see what our pace is like, then we'll give you the race win, because right now, this is helping the car behind them of Charlie Robinson. Ignore the black Aston Martin. That's not in the mix. Can Hopkinson help out? His pace has been phenomenal. We said George is quick. They've obviously got a quick car down there at Optimum, be it the 90 or the 17. Brown looks to the inside.
Oh, is there a gap? Is there a gap? Yes, there is, and the McLaren is trying to fit into it. The door is closed, though, again. And, well, Blake Anglis will not give this lead away. He wants to win. Mahiki, after this tumultuous season that they've had, how much would it mean for them to get a race win in the final race of the season, and to do it by fending off the car that could well end up winning the championship? So I do not think they're going to move aside here. Well, I know they're not going to move aside, and this is going to be a real battle to the end. The problem is, Joe, though, that because Luca Hopkinson, as you said, has now caught back up to Charlie Robertson, he's distracting Charlie, and Charlie's only a 10th or so a lap quicker than these two, even though they're battling.
Yeah, and this is just where you look, and this is why the onboards are phenomenal. The TV coverage is brilliant. Just being able to talk about it's phenomenal. I just don't know what Jack Brown should do, because Blake has got nothing to lose in that Ginetta. I expect him just to close the door, and then any damage. This has got to be the move. You've got to send it. It's got to be clean. They're squeezed to the inside. Pick your braking point now into the Melbourne hairpin. It's as late as you dare, but you go too deep. You go straight into the gravel, and he's blocked out Anglis. Can Anglis do anything about it? This is Brown's chance to go. You can see the Optimum there. Happy, sad, confused, nervous, all in one.
Well, they are now the race leaders, though. That's the main thing, and Blake Anglis not close enough to challenge, but wide goes Brown. He outbraked himself slightly, perhaps conscious of an attack coming from the Ginetta, but he fends him off, gets off the corner well. That lap, he's definitely lost time to Robertson. Brown might be the leader, but that was a 136.5 against a 35.5 for Robertson, and Anglis has not given up, Joe.
And Owen Hizzy now in the 31 MKH car. I said don't pay attention. Suddenly he's the quickest car in this 5-group battle. It's not for position, but he might want to get involved. The Ginetta now is the car behind. What can he do as a GT3 car of Gotts, who is now in third place as Clutton has stayed out on those wet tyres. So this is the battle, subclass racing going on all the way down the field.
Yeah, Clutton's down to 8th in GT3 now on those fading wet tyres. So you're right, Maxi Gertz is into a podium place. Cian Jewiss is up into 4th position. All eyes though on GT4. This for the race lead, and it has potentially enormous championship ramifications. Has Jack Brown, do you think, got the pace to get away from the Ginetta at the moment? That doesn't seem to be the case. Meanwhile, Sandy Mitchell, what a performance this has been. Yes, there's been drama for other people. Yes, he's been free from any championship stress or drama, but to be 27 seconds up the road of the sister car is phenomenal.
Yeah, he's just been faultless, hasn't he? In those difficult conditions when it rained, he was in a class of his own, and Martin's pace was very strong at the end of his stint as well, remember, and that's why they've been able to leapfrog there. Jack Brown really struggling to get the car stopped, it seems, in these slow speed corners. I know he overtook the Ginetta last lap, but last few times it's been real messy as Jewiss now clears Robertson, and he's just trying to bring that car home to get his championship done as well.
Charlie Robertson starting now to feel the desperation, running out of time, 2 3/4 minutes to go, and he still can't shake off Luca Hopkinson, whose McLaren is right behind. And look now, Jack Brown is, I would say, starting to fall into a nice rhythm. He's getting away now from Blake Anglis. 1.1 seconds nearly is the margin, and of course for Robertson now it's not just about catching the cars ahead. He would have to pass the Ginetta to then have any shot at going after Jack Brown. The time is running out, and it seems now to be slipping through Century Motorsports' fingertips, and it was really just that compensation time that did it. Hopkinson up the inside of the old hairpin. Do they lean on each other? They just about kept it clean. Now they do lean on each other though, as Robertson says, get away, I need to try and chase the cars in front, but instead, Joe, I think he's about to lose third place.
Yeah, what an illustration of a different shape of cars as well. Robertson, I don't know if he's got up on the Optimum team again to celebrate like they've just won the final, but the position's gone back the other way off shot. Hopkinson must have got it quick, so if we saw the shot again, they're nose to tail here. This is going on, but I don't think Robertson's got a particularly well-handling car.
No, and I think this is now costing him any chance of chasing after Jack Brown. The Honda comes up the inside of this battling pair of GT4s. It's for a place on the podium. It has championship ramifications, and it still is BMW ahead. There's more contact. How have they not had an accident on this lap, Joe? 2 or 3 tyres now they've touched, and once again they might be side by side towards the braking zone. Look at the damage on the front of the McLaren. That was quite a big hit.
Yeah, the McLaren's got an uglier nose than me now. It's hanging off. It's now down the inside. The move is done. The BMW is strong, and it doesn't look too badly damaged. Oh, you can cheer again, boys. Yeah, that's it. You can see them there. And Robertson loading up. This is getting to a point now where it's not particularly bright, smart, or pleasant to watch.
Yeah, Robertson's had enough, hasn't he? He feels that this has cost him a shot at the championship. I'm not 100% sure that that's necessarily the case. He didn't really have the pace to go after Brown anyway in the last couple of laps, but Luca Hopkinson certainly not making life any easy for Charlie Robertson. Charlie, I think, has had more than enough of that Optimum Motorsport McLaren. The GT3 leader, by the way, Sandy Mitchell, is now on his final lap of the race. I don't really want to take my eyes off this, Joe. This was the moment it very nearly ended in disaster.
Tyre wall hit, back of Robertson here, and then it's just all starting to fall apart, isn't it? That number 17 McLaren has had more hits than an OnlyFans page now, and it is completely destroyed. He'll be hoping he can get that car to the end of the race. The leader is on the last lap, but Robertson's still looming. Bodywork hanging off the rear as well on that McLaren.
Sandy Mitchell there is going through McLean's now. The last thing he wants to do is overtake this group of cars, because I have a feeling that scores are about to be settled between Robertson and Hopkinson. Sandy Mitchell just wants to get as far away from them as possible. Absolutely phenomenal performance this from Barwell Motorsport. They dominated qualifying. They've run first and second through the entire race, through all of the drama, the changeable conditions. It might not be a championship winning run this year for Sandy Mitchell or indeed Barwell Motorsport, but they have absolutely proven why they're the top team in the championship. It looked like Robertson was having a go at Hopkinson. Oh no, he's back ahead. That's third place in GT4 that's going to go right down to the wire. Sandy Mitchell, though, into the final corner. I'm sure he'll be trying hard not to be distracted by what's going on in his mirrors. It will be a victory for Sandy Mitchell and Alex Martin. Barwell Motorsport victorious at Donington Park, and in a sensational performance it was for third in GT4. Hopkinson gets it by 26 thousandths of a second. That really did run onto the checkered flag, and I suspect, Joe, the conversations might continue beyond it.
Yeah, Optimum Happy GT4 champions, and we picked up on Jewiss, who is on to be our GT3 champion too.
Yeah, here here he is then up through McLean's. I mean, where to start? Where to start when it comes to describing what this team have been through over the last 2 hours? We said, Joe, yesterday afternoon, we didn't think it would be a straightforward run to the championship, but I don't think either of us fully expected it to be quite as dramatic as it was.
It's not over yet. Yellowly in the Blackthorn car. Remember, the other Blackthorn car, Petrobelli and the 42, were championship contenders against each other. Contact earlier on, adjudged to be a racing incident. Doesn't look like Yellowly's got the run. I thought he might. He looks to the inside of Jewiss. Windscreen wipers still going. Yellowly giving it everything there and more. He's rolled off the brake to try and send it to the inside, but now hasn't got the run into the final corner. Jewiss should be safe.
The 42 car has had contact with both of its title rivals in this race, but it comes out the other side after a penalty, a long pit stop, a damaged race car, but they are going to be champions. Cian Jewiss and Charles Dawson are the 2025 British GT champions, and Cian Jewiss at last breathes, I think possibly for the first time in the last 60 minutes or so. You could see the physical look of relief on his face as he saw the checkered flag and knew he had done it. Jack Brown, meanwhile, becomes the first ever double British GT4 champion. He and Mark Warren victorious after another sensational final race. He had a little shake of the head in disbelief, and he doesn't even know everything that was going on behind him with his teammate and the Century BMW. At last, Mark Warren can relax, and the celebrations begin in earnest. You cannot argue, though, that that team do not deserve the championship. The same is true for 2Cs. Fantastic performance all season long for them. Cian Jewiss is in the car, but Charles Dawson is down in the pit lane with Bryn Lucas.
He is indeed. He wants to run off to his garage, and I don't blame him. Charles, this has been a really, really impressive season.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, we all started here. Maybe a little bit too good. We got that weight, didn't we, early on, which, you know, we've proven everyone we can do it with or without the weight. So, and I'm just so happy for Cian. He's honestly a superstar. He was so underrated coming to this year, and he's done a mega job. And yeah, 2Cs. I've been trying to think what I'm going to say now, and I can't. My mind's gone blank. So just super happy and thankful for everyone. So yeah, and very privileged to be able to do this. And I want to run in and celebrate with the garage.
Run in, but be careful of those cars. Well done, Charles. 2025 champion.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, yes, guys. Thank you.
I think an element of disbelief there in Charles Dawson's face. What a roller coaster of emotions he must have been going through, not only when he was in the car, but even watching as his teammate Cian Jewiss had to deal with so much that was thrown at him as well in the second half of the race. So, your champions provisionally, your race winners, I should say, provisionally. Barwell Motorsports, Sandy Mitchell and Alex Martin win outright, and in GT3 Pro-Am. Beach Team Motorsport are your Silver Am winners as well. It was the 78 car that led a Barwell Motorsport 1-2, though. Hugo Cook and Rob Collard second, with Kevin Say and Maxi Gertz moving into third in the closing stages. Fourth was enough for the championship for Cian Jewiss and Charles Dawson, with Nick Yellerly and Darren Young's non-point scoring Aston Martin in fifth ahead of Beach Team. Then it was Spirit of Races Ferrari, the Orange Racing by JMH McLaren 8th, 9th for Team Aber Racing, and Paddock Motorsport in 10th. In GT4, it was a race win in the end for Mark Warren and Jack Brown, and that was enough to secure the championship victory in the end by 16 points over Century Motorsport. Mahiki's Ginetta was second, the second Optimum car was third, and Charlie Robertson and Ravi Ramid had to settle for fourth in the end. Not quite enough for the championship, which goes the way of Optimum Motorsport. The final round of the 2025 British GT Championship was another typical Donington decider with drama from the off. Barwell Motorsport held the top two positions on the grid, with Rob Collard fending off Alex Martin through the first corner and holding on to the lead. The outgoing champ was determined to try and win in the final race of the season. There was a half spin for Mike Price on cold tyres further back, and he wouldn't be the only one in trouble early on as rain came and went over the first 30 minutes or so. The MKH Aston Martin ending in the gravel at the old hairpin. Then drama between title contenders. Charles Dawson tapped into a half spin after contact with his title rival Giacomo Petrobelli, and then further contact with his other championship rival later on as Morgan Tilbrook got turned around into the gravel. That was adjudged to have been Dawson's fault, and he was handed a 10-second penalty to serve in the pit lane. It was a really tough race for Dawson and Jewiss. No matter who was in the car, they always seemed to be in the thick of the battles. In GT4, the title really really was decided in the pit lane. The compensation time for Century Motorsport meant they came out a long way behind the Optimum car that they had to beat, whilst Morgan Tilbrook's championship hopes ended in the gravel trap at McLean's. Likewise, the race victory, in a way, went the way of the 78 car because they had the shorter pit stop. Then the rain really came. Some changed to wet, but most of the contenders stayed on slicks, including Charlie Robertson, who just could not get away from Luca Hopkinson's number 17 McLaren. Luca teammates to Jack Brown, who at the same time was chasing after the race leader. In the closing stages, Brown got ahead of the Mahiki Ginetta and went on to win the race and win the GT4 championship. It was Sandy Mitchell and Alex Martin who claimed the race victory, though. A Barwell Motorsport 1-2, with 2Cs Motorsports, Kian Jewiss and Charles Dawson claiming the GT3 title after a bruising 2 hours of racing at Donington Park.
Well, GT3 race winners, Sandy, it's not the result you wanted for the season, but let's just dwell on that performance from both of you.
Yeah, I mean, we've had just a couple of rounds this year that haven't quite gone our way, and yeah, it's been quite tricky overall, but no, we've had a great start to the season here at Donington as well with a P2, and then a fantastic finish with a 1-2 for the team. I think it's really well deserved. All weekend we've been quick, but we've also kept things simple, made the right calls at the right time, and yeah, the tyre choice in that race was perfect.
Everyone's moving on to the wet tyres. He was staying on slicks and pulling out times that were quicker than the wets. It seemed pretty easy for him. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, for me it was just managing the tyre life. It's a long stint. I know Rob was pushing hard. I could see he was pushing hard to pull that gap out, and we just had to manage that. And yeah, it was just good. It just went well. I think Rob and I both pulled away from the rest of the field as whenever it got greasy and wet. So we were obviously doing a good job, and the engineers and the mechanics have done a great job with the car. So.
It was a great job, and GT3 race win Donington Park decided not the championship, but it is top step of the podium. Well done to both of you.
Well, phenomenal performance from Barwell Motorsport. As Bryn said, they're not champions this year, but they ended the season on a high, not only with a win, but a 1-2 finish. And Sandy Mitchell's phenomenal second stint there, an eventual winning margin of 30.9 seconds, over half a minute. That is absolutely remarkable. So your provisional championship standings at the end of a hard-fought year of racing see the 2Cs Motorsport pairing of Charles Dawson and Kian Jewiss crowned champions. Hugo Cook on his own, of course, because Rob Collard didn't do every race, ends up second, and that was only 3.5 points the better of Kevin Say and Maximilian Gertz, with Alex Martin fourth and Rob Collard completing the top 5. Now, in GT4, a race win in the end was enough for the championship for Optimum Motorsport, and they catch up now with Bryn.
Have you cracked a smile yet, Mark? What about that GT4 overall champions and race winners?
Unbelievable. Amazing. Jack, what a drive. What a drive. Optimum Motorsport, what a car they've given us all year. I absolutely loved every second of it. All the boys and girls that have worked on the car with us, thank you so much. It's been an absolute privilege to drive this car and be part of this championship and be part of that race. So what an incredible experience.
I know last time out Brands Hatch you didn't absolutely enjoy it, did you? You didn't want to talk to me at the end of that one, but you're happy to talk to me now, Jack?
Yeah, no disrespect. I just needed to go over things on that one. So, but yeah, no, look, we got the job done. What a year it's been pushed the whole way through it by the BMW. It's definitely been some ups and downs, but yeah, what can I say? It's amazing. Yeah.
And you now know the history. You know the fact that you are the first ever GT4 double champion.
Yeah, yeah, I'll take that. That's good.
Looking back at the season, I know there were ups, there were downs. It was a meandering one for you. You were in so much control until Brands Hatch. Were there moments where you didn't think it was going to happen?
No. I'm a very positive-minded person, so the whole time I believed in what we're doing. So.
And for yourself, Mark, I mean, we said to you before, what would it mean? You said, well, it means so much, but you weren't able to understand the feeling. Can you put your finger on that feeling?
Not really. I mean, I only started racing 5 years ago, and I started racing with Ginettas, and the British GT cars were on the same paddock and stuff, and you just look at them and it just looked so far beyond anything that you could ever dream of. So it really is a dream come true. It's absolutely incredible.
Well, GT4 overall champions, Pro-Am champions, the first time in quite some time. Congratulations, GT4 overalls. Well done.
Thank you very much, guys. Cheers.
Well, Well, it's a record-breaking 13th class win for Jack Brown, and they're the first Pro-Am crew to win the overall GT4 Championship since 2016. Also, an Optimum Motorsport Championship win. So, some really big achievements for Optimum and Jack Brown and Mark Warren. So, a fantastic conclusion to the championship. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again next year.